Aeternians. As always, it's me, Emperor AP, and today I want to talk about the big topic that's been on people's minds for quite a while in the community. It's called by a lot of different names, but effectively, why do micronations get sick? So we see all the time in the micronational community, micronations die. They'll all of a sudden fall off the face of the planet. They'll all of a sudden, just drop off. Either their leaders will say, hey, you know what, I can't keep developing, I can't keep growing, whatever it is, and they will drop off. They will stagnate and eventually just stop and kind of disappear without any official notice, like a lot of micronations do. There are a ton of issues that go into this topic, and it can be something that's really scary for a lot of active developing micronations because they see their comrades, they see their friends and their allies starting to drop off here and there. And especially when it comes to larger groups and larger issues, there are a lot of circumstances that can go into why a micronation struggles like that. So we want to talk about that pre-stage. Effectively, before a micronation gets to the point where it's ending, before we get to the point where the micronation fully dies, we want to talk about what happens as they're getting sick, as they're starting to ramp down, as they're starting to shut down. And that's the thing that we want to focus on that brings up a lot of fear for a lot of people. This is something that can be a really hectic time for a micronation, and it's very, very different for different types of micronations. So I want to be able to delve into that with you all today. Right now we are on a live stream, so for everybody here live, thank you so much for watching, and definitely make sure to like the video because it helps to remind other people that the video is going on. So I appreciate you all joining us. I see Nate, I see New England, I see Nopalia, and I see one other person. So thank you guys. Oh, we just jumped up to 7. Thank you guys for watching. So that being the case, I really want to point out that it is an important topic for us to focus on as to why micronations are dying, why micronations start to shut down, and what we can do to prevent that as other micronationals. We talk about, for example, this concept of YAMOs, yet another micronational organization, and why they struggle so much and why they have so much difficulty. But if you compare that to how many micronations within those organizations die off within the first year or two of their existence, you can really see that those population fluctuations are the exact same thing that may kill that organization in and of itself. So if we want to solve some of these larger problems in micronationalism, if we want to fix some of these big issues that we feel like are holding the community back, we have to understand what it is that is getting micronations sick, that is killing these micronations, and what we can do to find a cure for that. So this is a big topic that the community has been wanting to talk about for a long time. This is something that I have been trying to research for a little while and understand about micronations, and I want to present to you all what my findings have been thus far. So let's jump into it. First, what are some of the problems that get micronations sick in the first place? In my opinion, one of the biggest things that I've seen that is a huge red flag for micronations and what causes them to struggle and struggle and struggle as they continue to grow and develop is first and foremost their ability to retain citizens. Now, this is a very obvious thing. If you don't have a ton of people going and developing in your nation, how are you going to continue? But this is the hardest one to solve. So I want to hit on it for just a second and then circle back around to it. But basically, when a micronation starts off, it can get an influx of citizens. It can get a whole bunch of people who drive in because it's something new, it's something exciting, and they want to see what's going on. So they get a whole influx of citizens, and then very quickly, either because of a lack of development on the creator's part, or because of a lack of ability, whether it's the time of year it is, whether it's the demographics you're looking at, for some reason those people will drop off really hard. And so how you retain those people is a different matter entirely. That's something that's really difficult to do and that we have a whole bunch of different series on, but it is important to try to retain those citizens. Vincent saying good morning to everybody. Vincent, thank you so much for hanging out and liking the video and trying to talk to everybody in the comments while I cover this. As well, if you guys are here after the stream has been going on, definitely make sure to leave a comment and talk to us about why it is that you feel like micronations are struggling and getting sick. It's a real difficulty. and we want to understand how much people are able to see this after it goes out. So when we continue to develop as micronations, as we continue to push forward, it is really, really difficult to see these different micronations fall. When we look at not only the retention of their citizens, but also the ability that they have to connect to the community, we can see a lot of parallels. So some of this has to do with some kind of advertising, right? Some of this has to do with some kind of marketing that these micronations need to be able to have. But at the same time, marketing without any substance growth internally can be just as big a problem. There are plenty of micronations, as I said, that have a ton of flow-through traffic. They have a ton of people who will rush in the beginning and then find a lack of substance there and then rush right back out. So if your micronation is just advertising really hard, if they have a great marketing campaign, that may get you a ton of people in, but that may also get you a ton of people out, because they'll come in, they'll do something for a second, and then they'll head right back out. And the problem that this gives is that even if your micronation is top tier at marketing, even if you all of a sudden blow up on the internet and you get big and you start to share all this cool stuff, well, you're going to have this cycle where people flow in, they do stuff, they flow back out. And for micronations, that can be all right. Like you can kind of survive and keep going on that for some extent of time. The problem becomes that this ultimately doesn't allow for a lot of cohesion. Eventually, this all keeps it on that initial leadership to maintain the nation. And so all of that effort and all of that ability starts to drain harder and harder and harder as years go on. And this is something that does eventually kill a lot of, on the surface, very popular and very exciting micronations. This happens time and time and time again, where micronations aren't able to actually get a foothold on their communities and able to build from their initial developments. And so they have this issue where there are people who know about them, but very little people participating. And so this cuts into a problem that I've talked about very previously, a long time ago on the channel, and it's something that I think needs to be reiterated again. There are way too many micronational leaders for the micronational community. Most people who jump into the micronational community want to lead their own micronation. That's probably why you're here today watching this video. You're saying, hey AP, I was curious about how micronations start dying. I was worried about my micronation. I was worried about my allies' micronation, my friend's micronation that's developing and just not able to stay afloat. They're starting to die. They're starting to have some issues, and so I want to know how to fix that. And some of that is the problem in and of itself, that there are too many micronations. So kind of naturally, some are going to fall off, some are going to have difficulty surviving, simply because developing an entire country is not for everybody. That's going to be something hard, that's a hard pill to swallow, but at the same time, there are ways to prevent that. It just requires an overwhelming amount of effort and consistent effort. This is something that micronations have to build on almost entirely by themselves at first, and they can continue to find community support to buffer that and assist that. So when a micronation is looking at this problem of, okay, so I have a lot of advertisement, it's going out, it's moving out, but I'm not able to get a lot of development, okay, so the solution is just to build developments, right? But what does that mean? What's a substantial development for a micronation, and how does that cause benefit for it? Well, we had a video the other day talking about good versus bad micronational ideas, and so if you haven't checked out that live stream, I recommend it. But it's this idea that there are going to be plenty of ideas that are tossed back and forth in your nation. There are going to be plenty of ideas that are worked on as far as how your nation should develop, why it should exist, what things it can do to improve the lives of its citizens and to retain people there. But at the end of the day, you're going to have these same consistent issues unless there is a way to actively motivate your citizens. So there's going to be this entire branch of research and of topic development that you need to focus on that is specifically based around how you can support the people that are around you and how you can get those citizens to become more than just people who are watching your nation, more than just people who may share your social media content, but people who are actually going to be on the ground helping you develop, helping you make stuff, and doing that consistently. That's a huge, huge ask for micronations. And like I said, that first, how do you retain citizens thing is a huge, huge difficulty. So this isn't going to be something that you're going to fix overnight. So there's another more important, crucial topic that we have to focus on real quick before we circle back to the larger one. And that is that you, as the leader of a micronation, have to be committed. So that means you can't burn yourself out. We've talked about micronational burnout in the past, but this is something that once again is a huge topic that hits into it. A lot of micronations end up dying because their leaders will put a ton of effort into it and see some results in the beginning, but the same amount of effort or even increased effort won't keep getting them the same results over time. They'll start really strong, they'll get a lot of effort, and then as they keep putting in more and more effort, they're not seeing greater and greater results. They're seeing stagnation, they're seeing difficulty. And so they start panicking. They start going, oh no, what am I doing wrong? Why am I not getting all this growth? Why am I not, shooting off like I should be? And it's simply because that's most of the time not how the community works. If you have a ton of money and a ton of ability to just hire people to push stuff out, you can go ahead and keep growing and keep pushing because you can probably pay for a lot of marketing. You can pay people to be on your salary and to continue working for your development. But that's not the best way to develop a micronation because ultimately that may fail you as well once you run out of money. But as well, that causes huge problems with the internal structure of the micronation. You have to be able to develop a micronation from its consistency. And so if you're somebody who's starting one by themselves with absolutely no money and no resources, you may have an advantage on somebody who does have a lot because you're going to learn every step of the way how to gather resources and then how to use them efficiently to make them work for your nation and keep your nation pulling resources in. That's a huge thing. It's really, really hard to do. But ultimately, being able to keep yourself on track and to learn and to develop and to grow as the leader of a country that is trying to be developed is something that is going to be crucial for its longevity. That's going to be something that holds you down as a contender in the micronational community, so to speak. A lot of micronations struggle with this. Again, there will be a micronation that develops and blows up in its first year, in its first few months. And then all of a sudden you'll see within 6 months, within a year, the micronational leader says, okay, you know what, I need to take a break, I need to slow down, which taking a break is a great thing. I will say that. That's not necessarily an indicator that a micronation is sick, but it can be one of the first telling signs when the people start taking, really long extended leaves of absence, which can be okay. Again, a break can be fine, but making sure to make that something that is a part of a scheduled routine or making that something that is a part of a pre-planned out rest phase is really, really important. Because breaks, we see micronational leaders take breaks and hold off on stuff all of the time. I have been guilty of that as well, of needing to take a break and then not planning out where are my future breaks, how are they going to go, so then all of a sudden you just have this sporadic break. But at the same time, it's something necessary for us to continue to improve and develop our nations. When we cannot hold down some consistent form of plan, when we cannot continue to grow in a way that is regimented, we have this same problem of burnout, of finding struggles within the ability to continue going for long periods of time. I see one of the comments that Vincent just threw in was something similar to one of the hardest parts is getting people to join a micronation. But I disagree with that. I think micronations that stand the test of time, micronations that are really having strong internal development and decent marketing, are 100% going to find people to join. It's not that you can't find people to join. If you hit up the micronation Reddit, if you hit up Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all these different places and you just say, who wants to join my micronation? You'll get a ton of support. People do that all the time and they'll get 4, 5, 6 citizens from a single post. But the question is, what are you actually asking those citizens to do? If all those citizens are doing is just watching your content, or if all those citizens are doing is just liking your posts or whatever, then that's all it's really going to be. If they're just hanging out in the Discord server, that's all they're going to be. But at the same time, we have people like Vincent here who are actively doing something different and showing a different form of citizenship. The same thing with David the Blacksmith, who actively is participating. The same thing with Stephen Vince, who may be coming to MicroCon with us. The same thing with David. It's a part of your development to have that move beyond just some simple, hey, I support you. Citizenship for a lot of micronations is defined as just a, hey, I support you. This person recognizes us as a nation and their nation, which is great. That's great for marketing, that's great for publicity, that's even great to have some sort of show of respect by other micronations. Citizen counts are how a lot of micronations determine power and strength and trading ability and things like that. However, it does not determine longevity, which is something that is huge in the micronational community and ultimately going to decide the fate of most micronations. So if you have a ton of citizens and you're trying to then run around and scramble and say, okay, how do I keep these people? How do I keep them to make sure that they don't fall off? That's where you're going to see a lot of problems, and that's where you're going to see a lot of stagnation. That's where you're going to see micronational leaders needing to take a break because they pull in all of these citizens and they can't retain them. So they have to increase their effort really dramatically, and they start seeing stagnating or even decreasing results for that increased effort. So it feels like what they're doing isn't working, and they're struggling, and they don't know why they're struggling. And it's simply because it's not regimented growth. It's not something that's a practical means of development. In Aeternia's history, we have done a lot of that, which is why I'm trying to warn you all about it, and why I have been, standing the test of time so long. Is not because Aeternia has perfectly figured out the smoothest transition to growth and development at all, but we have seen the difficulties of drastic rises and falls in population. Some of that being our own purposeful development, and some of that being completely accidental and stuff that just happens out of the blue. We've had government officials who have left us before. We have had plenty of citizens that have just gone dark effectively and just stopped communicating with us. And these are all things that micronations as a whole struggle with and that happen all the time. But the way that you have planned your nation, the way that it is designed to be developed, will determine whether or not that kills you, whether or not that breeds a larger sickness in your micronation, whether that makes it something that is debilitating to your micronation. It's really, really hard. And it's by no means something that I can just brag and say, oh, it's fine, whatever. It's hard for you guys, but not for us. It's something that is really, really about consistency of the leadership of a micronation, and it's also about trying to learn and understand from those mistakes. Again, that's something that is always going to take time. That's something that's always going to be about those failures and about trying to understand them. But when you are able to do that, when you're able to work on a micronation and develop it for some time, and then get citizens in, and every single citizen you get in, you're focusing on that citizen. You're trying to, work with them to develop what they want and the ways that they need to grow in your community. And the way that they can fit in practically to what you're already doing is really, really hard. Making a micronation go from its initial launching point to having any kind of stability whatsoever, not immediately dropping into like a downward spiral, which is what I'm calling this sickness. This sickness is the concept of right before a micronation hitting rock bottom and going completely defunct, going completely dead and stopping being able to exist whatsoever. Having your initial ability to start growing and developing in a rate that is consistent prevents that. It helps you to maintain a healthy micronation as opposed to a sick micronation. It's something that's always going to be a struggle for micronations, and especially ones that don't understand how to do it. So right now what I'm trying to teach you guys about and show you is that there isn't one path to doing it, but there are prime examples of what is good and bad to see in a micronation as far as learning what it is that can help that development. It is really, really difficult to do, but it ultimately comes down to that idea. Are you getting citizens in your nation? Are you able to retain those citizens? And is your leadership able to handle the increased work that it takes for that? And so we're talking about that concept of sickness, right? So what are some of those symptoms of that sickness? What is it that really shows that a micronation is not doing that? Well, you can tell kind of from the way that I've been talking, some of the prime examples of that. Firstly, a micronation that blows up really large and then starts to stagnate immediately. micronations that grow really heavily, really quickly, ultimately end up slowing down very, very fast. And it has nothing to do with the goodness of that micronation or the morals of that micronation or their founding ideologies or whatever. Sometimes it can have something to do with that, but many times it has to do with the amount of work they're able to put in consistently. Anytime you grow, that's an increased amount of effort that your people, whether it's you directly as the leader of the micronation, which many times it is, or the people under that person have to do, increased work they have to do to maintain those numbers and to keep growing consistently. That's something, again, that Aeternia struggles with, that every micronation struggles with, but that it is necessary to point out in order to understand how these micronations are getting sick and plateauing and falling off the face of the earth. The next thing is micronational fatigue. Again, people see a lot of these micronational leaders that come in, they'll develop for a really long time, and then all of a sudden they'll just drop out. And people think that's out of the blue, but a lot of the time there are indicators that lead up to that. For example, long periods of absence. People saying, this is a phrase that's quoted all the time, I'm taking a break from micronationalism. Not saying that they're going to go away and stop posting for a few weeks or whatever to go on vacation or do whatever. They will say something to the effect of, for my mental health, I have to step away from micronationalism. I can't do it anymore. I gotta back away. I'll come back later or whatever. That's something that shows that a person is having some primary functional issue with the concept of micronationalism. And it may not be something that is inherent to micronationalism. It may be something to do with, many times, the amount of pressure and work that they're putting on themselves or that their community now requires. And that's something that can absolutely be a clear indicator that a micronation is sick when the leadership cannot continue to perform because of fatigue, because of stress, because of added workload. That is something that shows that a micronation is way too overwhelmed, that a micronation is not able to sustain itself, and that's when you start to see a lot of drop-off and a lot of stagnation and a lot of that cyclic nature in the community. That can be happening before the micronational leader backs out because they see this overwhelming cycle happening of people coming in and going out and coming in and going out, and they're trying to retain their numbers, and so that eventually wears them out. Or it'll happen the other way around, where a micronational leader, through development of, say they start a micronational organization or all these other things, they develop a whole bunch, and then all of a sudden they go into overwhelmed mode, they back out, and then people start stagnating and dropping off really fast, and that can be an issue in and of itself. So, micronationalist fatigue, as well as stagnation in numbers or decline in numbers, can be something that is absolutely indicative. I don't know if that's proper grammar. Absolutely are indicators of micronational sickness, of a micronation being overwhelmed, being sick, being on the decline, so to speak. So, that being the case, what do we do to improve these micronations? What is it that can be kind of the antidote to this? What can be something that makes it better? Well, in order to look at what's going to make it better and what's going to help it, I think it'll become obvious as soon as we start looking at examples of things that make it worse, things that make it harder for micronations to develop, things that make it less likely for them to be able to succeed. So, one of the primary examples of that, one of the things that keep it struggling and struggling and struggling as a micronation is, of course, starting more projects. Again, projects are wonderful. We have a whole previous live stream we did yesterday or day before, a few days ago, that deals with micronational projects, which ones are good, which ones are bad, why they're good, why they're bad, and ultimately micronationalists love creating projects. I love projects as a micronationalist. I develop projects for Aeternia all the time and have multiple projects running at any one time. But I also have learned how to switch between those projects really well. Once I see, stagnation point in one project, I'm able to pivot really well and join into another project and start working and start developing. Never fully letting that project go, but saying, okay, this needs to move to the back burner now. This isn't helping us to continue working on. We need to shift over and do something else. And that's fine when all of those projects are based on individual people and based on small-scale development internal to the micronation. But a lot of micronationalists like doing community projects, which are great for marketing. They're great to be able to help your micronation establish connections and ties, and they're able to increase the likelihood that a micronation outside of your nation is going to support you in the future. But these are the dreaded YAMOs, and they happen all the time. It doesn't necessarily have to be an official micronational organization. A lot of people, when they talk about YAMOs, they're talking very specifically about like UN-style micronational organizations, which happen all the time and are big projects in the micronational community. There's stuff that even the most prominent micronational leaders out there get fixated on and start to develop. They'll say, okay, well, you know what, it's come time where our sphere of influence has grown. We are now powerful and strong, and we have all of these allies and all of these citizens and all of these Discord members and Patreon supporters and all this stuff. So now we should strengthen that influence and unite all micronations together under this great idea that we have to collectivize our work and put it together and make it into a large-scale organization. And no matter what, for some reason those micronational organizations continue to fail. And you look at that as a mystery because you're like, wow, so I knew all of these other micronational organizations were silly and goofy and they made no sense, but this one person that's micronation I really like, that I really support, why isn't theirs going well? Why is theirs stagnating? Why didn't I continue to hear more and more about it? And in my opinion, that all comes from the same root problem, that fatigue, that issue of a lack of substance internal to the micronations that are developing it. So then when all these micronations come together, it ends up having the same exact result as a micronation that doesn't have a ton of development. Except for the fact that now it's, again, primarily the leadership of the micronation that started the organization having to support all of the infrastructure of the organization. And of course, again, people go into appointments. They say, hey, you know, if I just like appoint enough people, if I get enough people to support my micronation and to join in as a part of the leadership or in this organization as a part of the head council or whatever, then they'll take care of all the work and they'll do it all. That's not what's going to happen. In micronationalism, people have a very limited amount of time to spend. Very few, if any, people do this as their job professionally, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's not going to happen. Even for a 9-to-5 job, it's 9 to 5. People can't work 24/7, and they can't take zero breaks. Plenty of micronationalists burn themselves out trying to do exactly that, working and working and working until they can't anymore. And they're not even making money at it most of the time. That's a situation that all micronations get into, I think, and Aeternia has been in as well. I don't make money from Aeternia. As of right now, these live streams and connecting with you all is the best support that we have. All of the money that we've taken, we've put toward our land purchase, and now we don't have that money anymore. So that being the case, you have to figure out a way to plan out and work toward your goals in a way that feels okay and comfortable for you. So if you're focused on growth all the time, and growth and growth and growth and growth and growth, you're really leaving your stability for granted. And you're really going to cause decline in your nation because you're trying to grasp for all these things that you think are going to save your nation while you're not treading water anymore. So you're going to start to drown and you're going to start to get sick. Sometimes that means literally sick, like fatigue can make people sick. It can, weaken your immune system. Stress can cause you to have, complications in your health, which is certainly scary. So you should be careful of that and make sure that you, no matter what, always take care of yourself as a person first, no matter what your hobbies are, no matter what your interests are, no matter what your career is. You as a person need to focus on yourself and your well-being. We have a whole topic of we have a whole video on micronations and mental health, again, which I recommend. But going forward, there's this idea of trying to grow nonstop. In the U.S., that's a big thing that people are focused on as well. In every single industry, in every single career, in every person's life. When we watch movies, when we watch TV, we see these heroes who are constantly working. They're nonstop, they're to the grind, and we have this concept that that's what the proper work ethic looks like. That's what the means of success are, is that you grind no matter what. You're the person who's up latest, up earliest, longest to the grindstone and gonna get it done. But if you do that, your competition may easily lap you because it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. This is something that happens all the time in micronationalism. I know that's a phrase that people use all the time, but it really is. It's something that if you don't pace yourself in, you're going to get fatigued and you're going to fall out. So, big problem, of course, is micronations who are overwhelming themselves. But in addition to that, starting these projects, which again lead back to that overwhelming, is a huge, huge indicator of what not to do. When you start to feel yourself struggling to maintain growth and development, don't then start latching onto other projects in the community or other micronations in the community in the form of alliances or trade connections or whatever that you think are going to stabilize your nation and improve things and get you back on the track to growth. Because ultimately, first off, micronations just stagnate. They fluctuate, they have weird numbers sometimes, and that's just going to happen. Because this is a small community of people whose interests jump really rapidly to the next newest, biggest thing. There's bandwagoning that happens in this community, and it happens all the time. So, instead of focusing on that bandwagoning and focusing on making sure everybody pays attention to your nation all the time, focus on what your nation is doing internally. Develop it, keep the people around who are going to stay around for a long time, and make that something that is most critical and most important. Because when people come back to check in on your nation, if they see that you're still doing well and you're still growing, and even if it's slow, you're still progressing, that's positive. People will remember, and they'll keep checking back on your micronation year after year after year, and they'll stay around longer, and they'll start to support more of your stuff, and they may even become citizens at some point, especially if their micronation ends up failing because they burn out. It's something that happens, once again, all the time in this community. I've seen, for example, in larger micronations, where micronations will dissolve, and then they'll become a part of another larger micronation, either through like annexation or through, their citizens becoming citizens of the other micronation, and so on and so forth, and becoming government representatives. It ultimately comes down to this concept that you can't do it alone. It's not that you can't run a micronation by yourself. It's not that you can't develop it by yourself. It's the concept that once you get so far, if you have all of this responsibility that your micronation takes up day to day, you either want to figure out how you're going to regiment that to make it comfortable for you, and again, that only works up to a certain size, or you have to start delegating these positions. But delegating these positions is something that's hard enough already. Advertising and appointing people to the right roles for the right reasons for a long period of time is ultimately going to be a struggle, and it's something that most micronations, I hate to say it, are not prepared for. It's not okay. You can't just start a micronation, add a whole bunch of people into the government, and hope that that's going to work out. Because 99.9% of the time, it's just not. You're going to see more and more lapses, you're going to see more and more stagnation, and that's what's going to make your micronation sick. So all of this ultimately comes back to fatigue. All of this ultimately comes back to overstressing your nation. And so I keep looking at this from different angles, because plenty of you are going to jump in and be like, oh, okay, but that's not a problem with my micronation. Like, my micronation does things differently. We have like a democratic thing, so everybody works together and kind of shares the work, so it's not a problem. Or we're a monarchy, so we have a lot more stability than those other types of micronations. We have this comfort level to where we can just appoint people and they'll just do the work and it's fine. Both of them are incorrect. Every single type of micronation, every single type of government organization, every single type of infrastructure that you can possibly think of is going to still suffer from this same problem, because it has nothing to do with the organizational structure. It has everything to do with the framework that people are developing for individual citizens. When you are the leader of a micronation, most of your time should be spent helping to develop an individual citizen's growth and success and comfort in your micronation. If that's not happening, if you're spending too much of your time marketing or advertising, then you don't have other people to help you do that as it continues to grow. So then you put more and more of your eggs in the basket of continuing to market versus moving your eggs into the basket of, okay, now I can start to work on other projects. Now I can start to help other micronationalists grow and develop. And it becomes headache inducing. That happens for, again, almost all micronations, but it is something that continually becomes a struggle for micronations that are gaining a lot of success really quickly. So first off, I want to say hey to everybody. I see Micro Ryan jumped in. I see Reptile Keepers jumped in. It's good to see you guys. But as we continue talking, I really want to try and answer some of your questions as to micronational fatigue, as to why micronations get sick, and what ultimately causes them to die. Because as we continue looking at this, again, there are other factors at play that can start to make that worse. Again, we talked about micronational organizations and other things like that that can start to cause struggling for a micronation, start to cause strain on a micronation. But on top of that, when you have all of these motivations for a micronation, when you have all of these people who are really, really passionate, there are answers, there are ways out of those situations, but a lot of the time people have their focus in the wrong direction. So even just working on the wrong things, even if they're paced out properly, even if they're, done in a way that doesn't cause excess fatigue, can still ultimately cause drop-off and stagnation. And that's a harder one to focus on. Because, yeah, sure, you can get the pacing down, which is hard enough on itself. You can get the, internal development, which is hard enough in and of itself. But if you have everybody working toward the wrong goals, even if you're a well set up, developed, and advertised micronation, you can still ultimately fall flat. And then you go, oh, okay, so I've solved all of the answers, I figured out all the stuff, I have this well-functioning micronation, and you're telling me it can still fail, there's still something that it could be doing absolutely wrong, even if every other box is checked? Yes. And the good news is, if you do all of those other things, this one symptom may not be immediately fatal to your micronation. But over time, it will drain its resources and it will wear it down. There are specific ideas in micronationalism that are spinning the wheels of micronations. And what I mean by that is they take a lot of effort to do, like spinning a wheel, but they're not going anywhere. They're not actually moving your nation forward like in a car. If you're driving it, yeah, the wheels will spin, but it pushes you somewhere along the ground. If you're just spinning your wheels up in the air, like if your car was elevated or if your vehicle was elevated and they're just spinning, they're not going anywhere. So, that being the case, micronations have the exact same problem, where we will spend a lot of time spinning our wheels. Hey, Can It Dan, it's good to see you. So, I wanted to say, focusing on the wrong things can be a struggle. One of the biggest problems that micronations run into, one of the longest struggles that micronations can have in doing everything else right, but focusing on the wrong thing, is ultimately micronational militaries. Everybody's going to hate that I say that, but that's one of these problems, right? Micronations will spend a lot of time developing, for example, militaries. And it's not just militaries, there are plenty of other things as well that are struggles for micronations. Now, if it's in your interest to do those things, if that's what helps you to develop a micronation initially, and that's what gets interest for you, that's great. But that can sometimes cause you to think that equating development in a specific project, especially a project that doesn't get you a lot back in return, versus micronational development are the same thing. And that can be an absolute killer for a micronation, because they will spend years, successful micronations will spend lots of money and lots of time and lots of citizen effort on things that ultimately don't give a lot of feedback and a lot of growth for those citizens. Some citizens will stay around doing those things because that's just what they like. But other citizens who are hoping to see the actual fruition of that micronation and its actual development and ascension into larger and larger statuses of micronational recognition are ultimately going to be disappointed and are going to leave and are going to bandwagon off and are going to change direction because they see that it's not working for them. That's something that, again, can be really, really hard. That's something that can be really, really difficult to pinpoint because for micronational militaries, you'd say, oh, well, but a lot of people like micronational militaries. And again, that's perfectly fine. But do they help your economy a ton? You could sell micronational military like equipment, or you can, do different things like that. But most of the time, it's going to be a struggle for you. It's going to be, difficult to have that help your internal development and to help your nation grow and, improve its resources. On top of that, there are plenty of other things. Again, micronational organizations that are another one, that if you don't have the right internal development, if you don't have the right setup and design for them, that they're going to be spinning your wheels just as well. They're going to be the same types of struggles that may just be efforts that your micronation are putting in that are in the wrong direction because they're not actually helping you to grow. And so micronationalists will put a ton of effort in on these projects which don't necessarily help their growth. And then they're surprised when they don't see growth, and they don't see improvement, and they see stagnation, and they see people leaving. And they go, why is that happening? I don't understand. And it's because they're putting time and effort into this one really super niche part of their development, and it ultimately struggles for them, and it ultimately gives them a hard time. There are plenty of other things that this happens with as well. For example, plenty of micronations will start different types of online communities. So for example, Aeternia has its Discord server, which is an online community, but we use it to traffic people to our YouTube channel. We use it to traffic people to our other social media. We use it to help promote the things that we're doing, and we use it to spark conversation between micronationalists that help them want to stay on that server and help them want to promote each other and support the community and stay invested in the ideas that this community believes in. It gives us a place to talk to our citizens, to talk to our community, to understand what people want. And those are all added benefits that actively day-to-day help to improve and develop our nation. But there are other micronational online communities that don't have the same effect. For example, I've seen plenty of micronations that develop on Roblox and Minecraft, which are fine in and of themselves because they're developing a community, because they're growing and developing these groups of people, but at the same time, to the larger micronational audience, if you're saying, hey, go ahead and check out my micronation, we're on Minecraft, you have to join Minecraft in order to support us and help us out, what if people don't have Minecraft? It could be the same thing with Discord, but Discord's easier to get. It's free, it's something that people can download, and it's something that a lot of the micronational community may already have access to. Because again, there's a small niche and a lot of people who are online doing gaming stuff and connecting to people through social media anyway. So it's not that difficult or that far a stretch for them to get that. Versus a paid game like Minecraft, where sure, you can do a lot, you can have a lot of development, you can have a lot of community support, but there's going to be a limit to the amount that you can do outside of that. So people may say, yeah, you're able to develop and do a lot within your micronation's Minecraft server, and yes, you can show that off as a means of growth. That's one of the positives of it. That's one of the things that would help, especially a small fledgling new micronation to start to expand out. But after you get to a certain point, stagnates you. And that's the same thing that happens with micronational militaries. It's the same thing that happens with micronational organizations. People join these things and people start these things in their micronations as a sign of initial development, as a way to pool all of those people in and get a lot of support right away. But, or to even develop internally very quickly. But all of a sudden, it will then stagnate. It'll stop growing, and people don't understand why that is. And it's because these things only have a certain amount of growth that they can reach, but for the amount of effort you have to put in to get any external growth from that is overwhelming and is absolutely ridiculous, because it's going to drain resources a lot faster than it pulls them in, if it pulls in any resources whatsoever. For all of these things that I've mentioned, micronational militaries, micronational Minecraft, Roblox servers, stuff like that, gaming servers, stuff like that, and micronational organizations are all things that have the primary benefit of pulling in interest through citizens, through other micronations. And those are things which can all help, again, a fledgling seed-based micronation, one that's just starting off and needing anything and everything it can to try and grow. But once it hits a certain point, it cannot maintain that. And so people will continue to try and maintain that and continue to support that one section of their micronation, even if that was just the thing they hoped would get them off the ground, because they see it relatively successful, and then it starts to stagnate really hard for them. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Here, that's Aiden is in here.
Yeah. Hello. What? I don't know.
She's saying screwdriver.
A screwdriver. They're looking for a screwdriver. Hello, Francisco. It's good to see you. I guess I'll take a break and read comments for just a second. Midnorth, it's good to see you. Okay. Ooh, okay, fantastic. I appreciate everybody joining. Michael Ryan said, AP, you've been invaded. Yeah, we definitely did have a group pop by. It's good to see everybody. We did. We had a whole connection in here. But yeah, I do feel like this is something that's really important for micronations. When people try to develop these micronations, it's something that allows them the hope and the opportunity to start a larger community. And that's great, and that's wonderful. But it's something that still causes a lot of issues for micronations because they don't learn when they're small how to appropriately cultivate their community, how to ultimately develop internally. Francisco asked what's happening. We were talking about why micronations get sick. And by getting sick, I'm talking specifically about the concept of a decline, of micronations stagnating, of starting to drop off in support, and eventually dying. Like, what's the thing that causes micronations to die before they actually die? What causes micronations to go defunct and to shut down and to not work anymore before they actually do that? What's the downward spiral? What's the thing that starts causing them to plummet? And those have been the things that we've been talking about for the last 45 minutes or so. As well, if you guys like this stream, definitely make sure to like it. It helps me out a lot to keep the channel going and growing. And as well, it helps out to bring more people into the chat to talk about this. If you've seen any kind of struggles in your micronation that are similar to what we've been talking about, let me know. Because again, I'm still trying to learn and understand this stuff as we move forward and talk about it. But the biggest problem that has been happening for me, hey Raspberry, it's good to see you as well. I see you joined in. It's good to always see you. It's always good to see you, I should say. The thing that really causes a lot of this is, again, this fatigue, this overstressing of a micronational leadership and development team, where they'll start something off and they'll either, one, put a ton of effort into the marketing of it but not develop internally. This eventually causes this shoot off to where they start struggling to maintain that growth, because once people get into their citizenship and start becoming a part of it, they realize there's not a ton to do, so then they start cycling and moving out and leaving. Then they get to this point where all those people are cycling and moving out and leaving, so they keep putting more and more effort into that advertising, but start seeing limited or less results. And then they're like, oh no, I need to put even more effort in, which stresses them even more and even more and even more. And then that starts to cause, mental health stuff. That starts to cause just fatigue in general in a person. And then eventually you'll start to see that micronationalist taking breaks from micronational and starting to leave. Which again, taking breaks is fine. Having periods of rest and relaxation are important for micronationalists. But all that being the case, it is absolutely crucial that micronations keep, absolutely, like Michael Ryan just said there in the comments, citizens engaged. Keep people connected to what they're trying to do, and don't try to grow too quickly. If you try to grow too quickly, it will overwhelm your nation. Francisco said we had 100 quadrillion crown notes. If that's your currency, that's another thing. That's another thing that can be a big issue. Trying to grow too quickly with your economy that can cause inflation and things like that. Again, micronational inflation is not something that should really happen too naturally because of the size of micronational economies, but can happen really quickly because leadership focuses in the wrong direction. And again, I'll talk about that as well. But that'll be another video. So, again, we talked already about micronations advertising and not developing internally. We talked about micronations developing internally, but developing in all the wrong ways, focusing on things which don't actually cause their growth and success long term, but cause them more and more increased stagnation. And again, this can come in the form of micronational militaries. This can come in the form of, micronational gaming servers like Minecraft and Roblox and stuff like that. That are just less accessed by the community and harder to get to, for example, with Minecraft being a paid service. And then as well, with things like micronational organizations that require, all of these things require a ton of effort, sometimes money involved, to continue to grow them and improve them and start them out, and then a decreasing amount of benefit for the effort that they put in. Again, a lot of this is going to go back into the amount of support that people can get, really just focused on citizen growth, pulling people in, but not actually having much to establish after that. Moving beyond that and trying to find solutions to this problem. How do you actually go from, okay, well, my micronation's sick, oh no, I'm seeing the same stagnation that you're talking about, AP, oh goodness, we're struggling and we're not able to have a lot of ability to grow and develop. What do we do now? Okay, so you're telling me all these things, I feel similar, how do I find a solution to this? The best way to do that is to analyze your micronation. This is something that's going to show a change in the trend. And it's not going to happen immediately. It's going to take a long time to get it right. But taking a step back and focusing on what your micronation's purpose is, why you started it to begin with, and writing that down is really important. A lot of micronations have huge constitutions, for example, that they will write all of their founding ideology and all of their laws, all of their infrastructure, all of their government development, and ultimately will have this incredibly detailed vision of what their micronation should look like. However, they don't end up being able to execute it most of the time. Why is that? Did you put too much effort into a founding document and are unable to make the connection from where you are to where you're going? That can be a big issue for the micronational community. Most micronational leaders especially are big dreamers. They have these great, wonderful ideas for how they're going to shape and change the world, which are powerful drivers for community support. Those are the ways that you're going to get people to stand up with you and say, you know what, I'm fighting for the same ideas. I'm thinking about the same things. These are great ways for us to latch on to people both inside the community and outside the community to get their support and to let people know what micronationalism is. But if you have this grandiose idea and all of these details, but your micronation doesn't look at all like the thing you have written and the thing that you're talking about, then people will feel a disconnect. You'll feel a disconnect in that, and you will see some struggling from that. So having ideological stepping stones, having ways that your micronation can go from the planning stage to the development stage, and ways to get to that end goal, that final product, are huge. Those are the things that are going to allow you to feel like you're building a momentum. Those are going to be the things that tell you whether you're on the right track or whether you're absolutely lost. Because you're going to have certain growth ideals. You're going to start to say, okay, so for my micronation to develop, I want to have this many citizens by this time, and I want to have this much money by this time, and I want to have this much whatever by this time. And you're going to start planning those things out. When you start planning those things out, if you start focusing on a topic or a particular area of interest that doesn't actually help your micronation to grow in all of those areas, you're going to start to see one of the areas develop, but the rest of them decline. Or you're going to start to see all of them decline, and you're not going to understand why. then you go back and look at those areas that you've been focusing on. And you try to match up, okay, am I doing things that are going to hit that next stepping stone? If I don't hit that next stepping stone, what is it that I'm doing that's not quite on track? Where am I focusing wrong? Where am I, putting too much or too little effort? Or if those tasks start to seem overwhelming, if you put a stepping stone out and you're like, I thought it was going to be reasonable. I thought I'd be able to get, 300 citizens in 3 months or whatever. It was crazy when I thought about it, but I was like, I got the right plan, I got the right strategy, I'm going to get it. And you don't reach it, or you start to get close and you're like, now I see there's no way to reach that in time. Okay, you may be exhausting yourself. That may be an early sign of micronational sickness, of micronational fatigue, of the larger stresses and strains that an entire country can have on it because of the leadership. So this is something that needs to be recognized and can be evaluated based on your personal development, based on your micronations plan and strategy for how it's going to get from point A to point B. So, as you continue to plan your micronations out, as you continue to write their full-scale constitutions and all of these grand plans that you have, start to think about, do those grand plans match where you are right now? And if not, how reasonable is it for you to get from here, where you're starting out, to here, where your constitution has you developed and has all of these plans? If those things is not a good connect, then it's going to be a problem. Michael Ryan says, AP, I just realized you're curious to talk about it, LOL. But that's a particular problem in and of itself, right? Sure, there's some benefit to marketing, like you're saying. If you're talking about the concept of, talking about your micronation. Oh, well, I'll fix my micronation just by telling other people about my micronation. Well, if your micronation isn't fully fleshed out and developed, if people, when they come into your micronation, go, oh, I'm glad to be here, but what do I do? And you go, oh, we need to grow. And it's like, oh, but how do we grow? Oh, well, we just, we're gonna get you to, I don't know, just kind of follow our stuff and I'll see you later. We'll see where it goes. Okay, cool, thanks. That's not really going to help. You can tell a crowd of thousands of people about what you're doing, but if you're not able to specifically pull people in and have them add and contribute to becoming part of what you're doing, that's not going to help your nation. You can talk about it all day. Putting it into practice is an entirely different thing, and it's a multifaceted thing. The strategy of doing that, going from point A to point B, of trying to plan out and develop each of these incremental steps and hit goals consistently, is an entirely different thing that goes above and beyond just talking about it. Francisco said the cure for my crisis was new currency and a complete reform of political system. Hey, so that's the thing that's interesting. Francisco, if you guys remember a few live streams back, was dealing with like a coup, basically. People who were coming in and trying to overturn and reform his government. And so he was saying the way that he fixed that was installing a new currency, which I'm not sure how that helped, but I'm curious to see how it did. Maybe there was some connection between the instability in his nation and his currency. Well, yeah, because he said he had a ton of like inflation. So yeah, I guess resetting and redeveloping your currency would be beneficial at that point. But as well, he was talking about reforming the political system there. And I think that can certainly be helpful as far as reining in the people who, removing the people more or less, who would be causing problems in your nation. But as well, trying to get yourself to focus down on those people who do actually care about what you're trying to do, and finding ways to make those people, people's efforts well put into your micronation. People only have so much time to help you, so therefore there's a limited amount of value that you can extract from each person. That being the case, that limited amount of value that you can extract from each person is something that you have to be able to strategize and have to be able to think about and have to be able to plan and focus as you continue to develop. As a citizen, it's not just enough to watch someone's content. It's not just enough to be there for certain aspects. You really have to be a part of helping to make that change and grow. It is very, very difficult to do, but it's something that's absolutely worthwhile. And the more that you have time and effort to put in that, the more that you have the ability to start planning those incremental steps, the more that that's going to fix the problems like Francisco had, where you not only need to change this entire system because you felt like it got your nation sick or it killed your nation, and reforming it to the point that it's able to get back on track. That's not going to be some speedy shoot-off again. That shouldn't be what you're hoping for. You shouldn't be trying to launch off your micronation in a way that's going to be super, super intense and super, super vengeful or whatever to try and get back all those citizens that you lost or whatever. It should be about trying to create value for the people who stuck with you. It should be about trying to make sure that those people feel like they are accomplishing things and showing those people that they are accomplishing things through those specific plans that you have in place. Okay, we need to hit this goal. We're trying to hit this goal. Why didn't we hit that goal? Let's talk about that. Let's figure that out. Okay, we're getting close to that goal, but we're not quite hitting it. Maybe we stretched it too far. Let's knock it back a little bit. Okay, we hit that goal. That's great. Why did we hit that goal? How did that work? Learning about those things and trying to understand how to better your nation comes with analyzing it and focusing on it and understanding it. Yes, 100%. Oh goodness, Michael, you were right to some degree that talking about your nation is important, but talking about what you're doing with your nation is ultimately the larger focus. Not just talking about your nation, but talking about what you're doing and why it is. Michael says, I think you need to determine what the sickness is. That's based on what your vision is and what you consider success. Monetizing, number of citizens, popularity, commune on your land. But I think all of those things are reasonable parts of a micronation. Sure, you're saying like what your vision is and what you consider success. Absolutely. But I think what micronations consider success, if I understand micronationalism correctly, is becoming a nation. Like full-fledged, 100% becoming a recognized country. So if that's your goal, general goals, that's a long way from where you're starting. So that being the case, like you said, what are your visions of success? What do you consider, I think more importantly, your short-term goals, your stepping stones? How are you going to get from point A to point B? What are those incremental little processes? I think, commune on your land, initially like creating a community on your land is a huge goal. Like that's maybe not all the way down here. It's not up here yet, but it's somewhere around here. And you think, oh, okay, well that's not too far to go, but it still is. And considering, what your goal is, that's still huge. That's miles and miles away. So monetizing may be a shorter term goal, but for a lot of micronations, even that is still a big jump. So I think we have to focus on micro goals, things that are very tiny, that are going to help us to develop to those things, which even yours, Micro Ryan, I feel like are great points, but they're still macro goals. They're things that somebody may hear and go, oh, those are reasonable stepping stones, which they are, but they're still not achievable for most micronations. Doing individual things like, hey, can we have like a monthly meeting every month or whatever? Those are like big goals for micronations. Those are things that are like really important to keep people going. Hey, can we consistently celebrate a holiday? Those things are really cool and really crazy. Hey, can we, get like a regular like social media like interaction going or whatever? Can we like consistently start like a group thing or whatever together? Those are like big goals, which again are going to add effort to your micronation. They're going to add fatigue. But if you can weather that fatigue, and if that's something that becomes comfortable in micronation's growth and development, that's huge. That's a sign that you are growing and that you're able to sustain a particular size micronation, which is incredible. Micronations are a sum of their efforts. They are a sum of the contributions of the people in them. And the more people that you have supporting your idea, the more effort that's going to cause, and the more ability you have to grow. But if you're not putting that effort in correctly, if it's not getting used efficiently, you're going to have the same kinds of issues. Michael Ryan says, maybe not a me. I get you. I see what you're saying. Reptile Keeper says, well, time to transcribe documents. Absolutely. And that's something that's important. Again, not just transcribing those documents and writing them down, but actually editing them. This is something that Aeternia is going to do like pretty soon. We have our Guide of Foundation and Principles, which we tried to do in the opposite manner. Again, I used to see all the time these really long and complex micronational constitutions and development documents and goal documents. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to start off with this goal and try and figure out where we are now. I wanted to start off down here and say, this is where our micronation is, this is what we describe in our document. Now, we have hopes, and I'll describe a few of those hopes up here, but they're going to be very vague. They're not going to be, things that we're super focused on in the document. What's focused on in the document is our guide of foundation and principles, which is what it's called. Our principles, what we believe in, and what we are founded around. And then we're going to start to increase that just a little bit over time and come out with new versions of it and new iterations that slowly, as we continue to grow, increase our goals and increase the difference between what our document is and what we are, but show a clearer and clearer path to how to get to our ultimate goals. So that is something that we're going to be refining very, very soon. Guide of Foundation and Principles Volume 2 is going to be coming out very, very soon. Not even Volume 2, just Iteration 2. Right now, if you check our website, eternianempire.wixsite.com/imperial market, long name, it's our first link on Google if you type in the Empire of Aeternia. It's also in the description of this YouTube video. You should see that our Guide of Foundation and Principles is like 2 or 3 pages long. It has a section that's like our introduction. It has a section that talks about our government, and it has a section that talks about our culture. And that's really it. Like, it's very bare bones, it's very minimal. You would say from looking at that document, if you've never seen our YouTube channel before, oh, this micronation just started. They're just getting started, barely anything developed, barely anything done. It doesn't show you a lot of our symbols, it doesn't show you a lot of our progress and our development. It doesn't show you nearly anything that we've done on this channel. And so you'd say, AP, why do you have that document? Agreed, it's low for what we should be at right now. But what I decided to focus on for Aeternia is all of our other development, in trying to retain internal development, trying to create some marketing and some advertising, but in a way that allows us to move consistently toward our goals versus what the main idea and body of our micronation is as, a grand endpoint. So now we need to ratchet up that grand endpoint. We need to make our advertising a little bit better. We need to start to shoot for larger and larger goals because we've proven to ourselves that we can maintain this size, that we can keep this going successfully. And now we can push for some larger growth. So that being the case, how are we going to start to reform that? How are we going to start to improve that? I hope to cover what the specifics of our new Guide of Foundation and Principle are. I'm going to, I'll quickly rapid fire off a few things. We're going to, of course, be going more in depth on our government. That's something that, has been asked a lot of questions about. And we have a few paragraphs in that about it. So that's probably the longest section in our Guide of Foundation and Principles right now. If you have any questions about our government, that's where I'd go. But we want to add in, who, government officials have been, who they are currently, why they are, what they're doing. I want to talk more about our platforms, such as our Discord, our Instagram, our Twitter, the ways that we're currently reaching out to people. I want to add a little bit of our history into it because we have a lot of history that, again, a lot of people don't know about and that's really only documented on this channel. So if we can get that out there through the Guide of Foundation and Principles, I think maybe it'll help to develop our micro-wiki further, to develop other stuff for us. By the way, I wanted to hit on really, really quickly, somebody developed a micro-wiki page based around me, which I'm super flattered about. I know a lot of micronational leaders have micro-wiki pages about them. I didn't develop this micro-wiki page. I asked someone for help initially with the development of the Empire of Aeternia micro-wiki, but I think people have updated it since then, which I'm impressed about. Thank you guys. And then on top of that, somebody made the Emperor AP micro-wiki page, which I didn't know existed. I'm flattered about that. Thank you guys. So that being the case, I want to do all that justice. Seeing how much we've grown online and seeing the development that we have, I want to make sure that we can do our proper due justice to make sure we're hitting our goals properly by expanding and letting people know what we stand for and why we're moving. So we're of course going to have to update our government, our history, stuff like that on the document. But I also want to focus on our culture. There are plenty of things that we've been doing that really focus on what it means to be Aeternian, especially developing the land that we have purchased in Vitae, especially the ideas that we've been developing as far as our clothing. We're trying to get new designs for clothing for Microcon, and that's something that's probably going to cost us a little bit of money, something that's going to take us a little bit of time, money and time that we don't have right now. But as we continue to develop and move forward, there are going to be ways that we can do that. On top of that, I want to start to develop parts of our culture that are going to help with our monetization as well. If you guys want your flag on our land, we're hoping to have that as something that actually you can purchase right now. We have set up on our Ko-Fi page, link in the description to our Ko-Fi page. If you go to commissions under our Ko-Fi page, they have the Garden of Nations, which is going to be a garden that we have planted, that we're already working on planting. Where we will have beautiful flowers, a place for people to come and visit when they tour Aeternia, and it will have the different nations that have supported us and their flag and their name all around that. So when you go to our Ko-Fi page, if you decide you want to help us out and do like a one-time purchase thing, that's something that you can actually get out of it for the long term. Once you sign up and once you purchase that commission, email us information with your flag and the name of your nation, and we're going to put a flag for your nation as well as the picture of your flag in our Garden of Nations. So that's something that's hopefully going to be a good method of advertisement for other nations, but also something that defines our culture. When we go to write the second version of our Guide to Foundation and Principles, I want to have pictures of that Garden of Nations in there. I would like to be able to see all of the different flags that are supporting us and that have supported us and show those off to people. This is something that's going to be difficult to do, but I think well-meaning for our culture and something that can really, really define what our nation is to people. Not only to people who read our Guide to Foundation and Principles, but also to people who come in from the street and who are just trying to learn about the micronational community. I feel like that makes the area of Vitae become more and more a home for us and also a place of interest for the micronational community, a hotspot to learn about who we are and what we're doing as more than Aeternia, as this entire world enterprise of individuals trying to create their own freedoms and their own interests by self-governing. That's something that's really, really hard to do, and something that I don't think there are a ton of hotspots for, or enough hotspots for. Molossia has some stuff, but Molossia pretty much just shows off Molossia. Sealand has stuff, but Sealand is hard to access and doesn't really take a ton of tours. Microcon happens every couple of years, but that's different places depending on where you go, and there's a limited number of people that can do that because of how expensive it is. So, and the nature that it's like nomadic, that it changes areas all the time. So, we need somewhere where the micronational community can be shown off for the micronational community, and that's something that I really want to pitch. That's something that, again, if you want to purchase that and help us out, I think it's like $10 or $15 to get your flag there. Ko-fi.com/Aeternia. You can get your nation's flag and the name of your nation placed in the Garden of Nations to have our support eternally, pretty much, for your nation and to kind of advertise it. So that's the big idea here, right? Is going from, what is our ideal, what is our hope, our dream, how do we get there? A lot of this prevents that sickness, and it fights off that fatigue, because it allows your people to feel renewed and inspired. It allows your government to understand what it needs to focus on and what goals it needs to hit. It allows your social media to flourish because people can track the progresses that you're hoping to do, and ultimately it gives you that perspective of what are we doing wrong, how do we fix it, where's the next step we need to go. It allows you to start really neatly understanding where all of the problems in your nation are and how you can develop it better and better. This is something that's going to be a consistent need for our nation. This is going to be something that will always be a struggle for us to develop, but something that is crucial for us to understand about our own nations and then eventually about each other's nations. When you start to learn about alliances, when you're starting to spread out, and this entire video has been just talking about our own nations, talking about being selfish and saying, what about me? What about my micronation? What about what's in it for us and how we develop? Once you fix that, once you can get out of a stage of sickness or out of a stage of struggle, if your micronation is in that, or once you can prevent that if you're just starting off, where do you go from there? How do you know that the other micronations that you're supporting and trying to help develop aren't in a similar stage? How do you help to pull other micronations out of that? How do you help to reach out to micronations and support them when they're in these times of struggle? Trying to get them to understand who they are and what they're doing. If you can understand who they are and what they're doing by answering some of those questions, by asking them about their goals, by asking them about where they are, by trying to see the path that they're drawing out for their own success, you can help them. You can show them the proper way to move forward. Or at very least, you can give them some advice and point them in the right direction and say, hey, listen, I know you talked a lot about economic growth. You talked about how you want your micronation to make all this money, but it seems like you're spending a lot of money on stuff that isn't helping to make any money. Or you really want a lot of like citizen growth and stuff, but at the same time, it doesn't sound like you're doing a lot to hold down and retain citizens. It sounds like you're gaining a lot of citizens, but you're also losing a lot of them. So that may be the problem that you need to focus on. Knowing your micronational allies and counterparts can help them, and it can also help you to see the flaws in your own nation in the exact same way. If you start to see problem after problem after problem in the micronational community like we have, you can see the areas where you can improve and do differently, and hopefully, blaze your own trail and make your own success in this community. It's hard, and I say that, probably 10 or 12 times every single video, but it is true. This hobby takes effort. This dream takes effort. This profession takes effort. Whatever your goal as a micronationalist is, does not change the amount of effort that is required at a bare minimum. You can, of course, if you have higher goals and dreams and want to achieve them quicker, you can put more and more and more effort in to try and hike your way up and fight your way up to the top. But no matter what, you're still going to have to put in more and more and more effort every single stage you go to. So, understanding that from a fundamental level, trying to figure out the flaws of your nation, trying to see that in other nations, and helping yourself to achieve in a meaningful way and in a way that helps you to learn about your nation will ultimately give you the edge and will help you to teach other nations how to grow as well. Because when one of us grows, this community grows. When we do better, it allows us to get more and more support out of it. More people know about the community. More people understand what we're trying to do. More people can help us to grow. Now, obviously, not all publicity is good publicity. That's something that a lot of people are going to tell you. All publicity is good publicity. Not necessarily for micronations. This is kind of a tangent, but yes, micronations succeeding brings up other micronations. I've talked about this previously in other videos and hinted at it, but there are some micronations which you definitely don't want to be on the top of micronations, and to be the poster child for micronations, just because they may make a bad name for us. But that's here nor there. That's another video. I want to focus on this. As you keep developing, as you keep growing, as you keep making more for your nation, please remember that there is a time and a place for everything. Please help to put those thoughts that you may have that are scrambled and misaligned and trying to focus on those dreams where they need to be in order to get you there. Every single micronationalist comes into this with the concept that they are going to be the one that hits it off, that they're going to be the one that figures it out and knows how to do it. And it's been weird to see that. I shouldn't say every micronationalist. I've seen a lot of micronationalists who are fairly humble. I've seen a lot of micronationalists who do just make consistent efforts toward developing their people and trying to build something for themselves and their families. But that being the case, there are plenty of micronationalists that I've seen who are just trying to shoot for the moon, who are just trying to go for it. And there's nothing wrong with that. That should be a wonderful inspiration to us all. That should be something that shows us a way to continue to build motivation and inspiration for our nations. But if they fail, and if they fall out of the sky within the first few years, we're never going to see what that potential could have been. We're never going to be able to see how these great leaders could have continued to develop. So I would say, if you're a micronationalist who's struggling with that, try to figure out what's going wrong. Try to take a break. Try to, relieve yourself and collect yourself and put things back together so that you can continue to make change for this community and help us grow. If you're somebody who feels like your community has already fallen apart, or you haven't been able to continue developing, or you simply don't want to do it anymore, consider joining another micronation. I know that's like a big deal, and why would anybody ever join another micronation? It helps. It helps those micronations to grow. It helps you to reestablish yourself in the community. It helps to give better perspective on where another nation is growing and how they can improve. And it's completely voluntary. When you join another nation, you're not signing your life away. Of course, you should try to commit to that nation. Don't join a nation and then 2 weeks later dip out of it. That's not okay. It generally hurts a lot more than it helps, because that nation probably put, if they're doing things correctly, a good bit of time and effort into supporting you and helping to develop you. And then, you backing out and leaving real fast can cause a lot of effort. It can cause a lot of effort to go to waste, I should say. But at the same time, it is still necessary and still important, as you continue to define who you are in this community, to think about, hey, am I on the right track? And is there something that I could be doing in another nation that I may not be able to do for myself? Is there, a greater opportunity for me in another country, in another micronation, than in my own? That's something that I really, really implore people on. There are plenty of micronationalists that are nearby to us, for example. I don't want to toot our own horn too much, but there are plenty of micronations that could really, really benefit us and could help us, that are in a nearby area that we could really help to promote and bring up and support, but they aren't interested in joining us, and that's perfectly fine. Those micronations will do well on their own. I'm excited to see their development and their support, but at the same time, I know that there are plenty of things that are holding people back, not just in Aeternia, not just in those other micronations, all over the world. And the more that we can come together, even if it's not under Aeternia, the more that we can come together, the more that we can grow, and the more that we can find ways to understand each other and achieve our goals, the more we can prevent micronationalists, good micronationalists, from leaving the community altogether. The more that we can provide benefit for the citizens who are supporting and contributing to these nations, and give them a better quality of life that they may be struggling for and seeking in this community. This is something that is a non-stop grind for a ton of micronationalists. There are a ton of micronational leaders who are putting their heart and soul into these projects and get it into their communities and into their nations that are getting very little result, that are getting stagnation, decreases, that are getting, long-term struggle with their nations. And you may think, okay, well, but if one micronationalist figures it out, they'll share it with everybody else, right? Not necessarily. A lot of micronations are very competitive and very, they like to bicker a lot. And so they would go, well, why would I share my secrets with you? Why would I give you pointers on how to grow your nation? That makes you a stronger competitor against us. That's why I'm trying to make this channel, and that's why I'm trying to help us develop in this way. I, of course, talk about Aeternia, and I try to promote Aeternia on this channel. But I'm also here for this community. I understand that we can't grow alone. We can't achieve all the things that we want to if we don't have worldwide support. And so it is important for us to teach each other, to help each other, and to support each other, and to eventually, more than likely, become a part of each other's nations. It's a struggle, and it's something that no micronationalist comes in knowing even, I would argue, 15% of everything they're going to need to know and how they're going to need to develop in order to sustain their micronation. Most people are not going to have any shred of an idea of what it takes to run a nation when they start, even if they've been a politician before, even if they've been a business person before, even if they've, gone to college and studied political theory and all this stuff. Still, Developing technologies for your country is going to be a struggle. Developing and running functional economies for your nation is going to be a struggle. Developing a social media presence for your nation is going to be a struggle. If you have, developing formal relations with another nation is going to be a struggle. And this is where we see people spreading their efforts out so thin. This is what we see micronationalists trying to claw their way into to try and achieve successes. And of course, those micronationalists learn a lot in that process, and they're able to grow their leadership abilities and their micronational development abilities incredibly as they do this. But they also fatigue themselves, and they also start to create stagnation and make their micronations sick. They start to make their micronations sick, they start to make their micronations hurt, they start to make everybody in their community, their local micronational community, their internal micronational community to their nation start to feel the stress of that. When you're a micronational leader, you do not lead alone. Even if you're a monarch, you are not developing alone. You are not building alone. You are not achieving alone. And every time you cause struggle and strife for yourself, you're causing struggle and strife for your people. Every time you stagnate your nation, you're stagnating your people. People who are putting their effort and their time and their love and devotion into creating something that started out as your dream, but became their home. This is not something for the faint of heart. Micronationalism is not something for people who don't want to take risks, obviously. But it's also not something for people who don't want to continue to devote themselves to other people. I had a talk with Lord Von Doom from the Draconian Empire about this. He's the leader of their nation. And we were talking the other day about the concept, and he said this to me multiple times, and I think it rings true, that leaders of governments, particularly micronational leaders, are the biggest servants in their nations. And while for some macronations I can disagree with that, of course there are plenty of, plenty of kind of spoiled leaders in the world, and plenty of people who are, figureheads but aren't really leaders in their macronational worlds and in their communities. And that's why so many people are so frustrated with macronational politics and why they want to develop micronations. But in micronations, lazy leaders don't survive. Selfish leaders don't survive because their communities can't hold themselves up without that strong leadership, without that forward direction, and without means of sustaining themselves. The micronational leaders are holding that up a lot of the time by themselves or with very little help. So the weight and strength and power and development of a nation is directly tied to how much effort that micronational leader is putting in, and also how good a strategy they have to maintain and stabilize that power. It's not something that is for the faint of heart. And more importantly, it is not something that's going to happen overnight. It's not something that's going to happen without a considerable amount of change and deviation from the plan that you initially set out with and how you think you're going to grow. Once again, people have those huge constitutions, but that doesn't do them a lot of good as they develop those stepping stones, unless they backtrack and figure out how they're going to get from point A to point B, how they're going to get from that large dream that they have all the way down to where they are currently, and what makes that possible. That's going to take some change. You're going to go through that and realize that some of your stepping stones that you develop, no matter how meticulous you are, no matter how much you think you've got it down to a science and have all the right answers, no matter how successful you become, no matter how quickly your micronation shoots off and develops and you launch to the top, you are still going to quickly realize, uh-oh, I didn't do something right. Uh-oh, it's not working out. Uh-oh, I forgot about this. Uh-oh, these people are leaving. Uh-oh, oh goodness, all these different things are happening. And you'll feel that sickness. You'll feel that spiral. You'll feel that stagnation. You'll feel that decline. You'll see your people asking questions and wondering and trying to support you, but knowing that there's something going on, that there's some issue, that there's some problem. That problem can be an external problem. You may have some kind of beef with another micronation. There may be some kind of economic catastrophe that happens. There may be infighting in your nation. There may be external political things that happen that affect your nation. There may be there may be personal life circumstances for you that limit your ability to support your nation. Nonetheless, you have to have ways to account for that. You have to have ways to pivot from that. You have to have ways to help your community to grow and to develop regardless. Because at the end of the day, no matter where you put yourself as a micronational leader, no matter how powerful or strong you think your nation is, it cannot survive without you. And it cannot develop and achieve without this community's support. Micronations live and die all the time. Micronationalists come and go all the time. And we as a community see this happen time and time again. And a lot of the time, all we think we can do is hope. All of the time, we think what we can do is just reach out and show support and say, you're still, you're still our friend. You're still, in our hearts. But most of the time, that doesn't cut it. Of course, we should be trying to find ways to make our micronations independent. Of course, we should be trying to find ways to make it such that they can survive without their leadership and can continue to find new leadership and continue to develop in ways that are self-sufficient. But nonetheless, that is not a quick fix. That is not something that's going to happen right the first time, and is not something that most micronations have the immediate resources to develop. So, instead of trying to focus on that initially, focus on what you can do to stabilize. Focus on what you can do to bring in the right people and keep them in who are going to help you achieve those larger later goals. Those people who are going to make it easier and easier to stabilize, who are going to take more and more of the effort off of your shoulders. Either one, so that you can expand further and faster, or two, so that you can take a break and start to wind down and start to even further stabilize. I think a lot of people think that growth in the micronational community, that popularity and notoriety in the micronational community are the biggest things. That having the largest number of citizens, the largest claim, the most news stories or whatever about your nation, the most search results on Google or whatever are the having your nation on Google Maps or whatever. That those are the defining characteristics of a successful micronation, or the most popular, most stable, most powerful micronation. But I disagree. I think stability is the strongest characteristic of micronational success and of a micronation's effective power. What I mean by effective power, you can have a large social media presence, and that does a lot for your nation. But if your nation can't support itself, and if your nation can't continue to grow beyond that because it doesn't have the infrastructure to do so, that power isn't very effective. You can tweet stuff out. You can, post YouTube videos all day and night. That's not going to make it turn into larger scale successes for you. That's not going to make it something that helps you to achieve internally. But the more that you focus on your people, the more that you slow down and say, how do I make sure that the people who are hoping to, dedicate more of themselves to this get recurring benefits from it? And how do I ultimately help those people to launch off their dreams is going to be a huge indicator of how successful your micronation is. Because at the end of the day, those super popular micronations are going to come and go. They're going to have periods where they're here all the time, and then gone for months or years, and then back, and then gone, and then back, and then new ones, and back and forth. At the end of the day, those aren't the micronations that you should be focusing on. Those aren't the micronations that you should try and make alliances with. Those aren't the micronations that you should be asking to join your organizations and to support you and all this stuff. Because those aren't the ones that are going to be around next year. Those aren't the ones that are going to be around 10 years from now. Of course, there may be some that figure it out and that, get really popular and stabilize, but 90% of them aren't. Most of them are going to inflate. They're going to struggle, they're going to fall, they're going to inflate, they're going to struggle, they're going to fall apart. And they're going to do that cycle maybe 5 times, maybe 10 times, maybe 15 times before they either fall apart, which is the most likely occurrence, that sickness, decline, and eventually death, or they're going to go into sickness and recovery. And that recovery is hard. That's what makes that cycle happen. But it's something that's going to happen at every stage of a micronation's growth. Recovery is key. Being able to assess the resources that you have, implement them effectively, and come out on top with a more stable nation at the end of it, and one that has grown to some effect, is the ultimate end goal of this. That is what the cure looks like. That is what the saving grace of this antidote is. Stability. Stability is the cure. Stability is the way to find ourselves through this thick forest of confusing internet communities and trolling and struggle and real world misunderstandings and alienation and things like that. Stability for your community, showing long-term staying power, is a success in and of itself. This is something that most large micronations, especially stable micronations, look for in their support. That's what I look for in alliances myself, is somebody who can show me, hey, we have some effective ability to do a thing, and we're going to be around for a long time. Those are a hard combination to achieve, but if you can achieve the stability, you will eventually achieve the effective power. But if you never have the stability, the effective power, even if you have it for a moment, will quickly fall off and will quickly deteriorate because your micronation will get sick. Nobody wants to support an ally with a sick micronation. Well, there are plenty of micronations who do, but they don't realize that those micronations are sick. And the problem is, if you have a sick micronation, just like the reason that I call this a sickness, if you have a sick micronation and you ally up with another micronation, well, now that alliance is tied up in your affairs. And if you can't handle your stuff by yourself, they're going to start to have to take a brunt of that load. And they're going to start to try and manage stuff as well. And if a project fails, that hurts them as well. And that could cause them to get sick. And then this cycle happens over and over and over and over again, where we see micronations spreading the sickness and causing problems and having difficulty. It's not a sickness inherent to anything. It's not it's not something that should be looked at as, fear the plague. It's something that is able to be resisted. It's something that's able to be inoculated against. It's something that's able to be cured even in a micronation. But it takes consistent effort. It takes inoculation. It takes recovery. It takes a long time of care and support, not only internally, but then externally, to go and make the community more and more resistant to this sickness, to be able to educate, to be able to fight back against micronations struggling and getting fatigued and dying because they can't gather enough internal infrastructure and development to hold over into the next year. So first, stabilizing that nation, just like in medicine, just like when somebody's sick and when their body is failing, you have to stabilize them before they can recover. If they're not stabilizing, they're dying. So you have to stabilize them. Just like that, you have to stabilize a community. You have to stabilize a micronation in order to get it to start ramping up again. And all it is effort. All it is a lot of people putting in the time to figure out what's going wrong and how they can make that right. Reptile says, we'll time to transcribe documents. Francisco said, Yara is now growing like never before, but we're getting canceled because of our yarn church. First off, congratulations on growing like never before, but also, once again, just remember that stability. If you're going to grow and grow and grow and grow, don't grow and grow and grow and grow and then not be able to maintain all of those people. If you see yourself grow really large and then your population shrink really hard again, don't say, oh, it was because we got canceled. Oh, it was because of all this other stuff. Oh, it was because other people don't like us. Oh, it was because of infighting. Take accountability. Understand what it is that's going wrong and take incremental steps to improve it and stabilize. Stability over growth every single day. Raz says, have you been talking with people on what they find wrong? Maybe make a way for people to suggest ideas on how to better and for those to possibly become real. Absolutely, Raz. That's a great point. And that's something that I'm trying to hit on in this video, is that I haven't talked to a ton of micronations in the comments yet, which is what I'm doing now. But there are a ton of micronations that have been doing this for years that I have seen, that I've talked to recently, that I've talked to from years ago, even micronations that I just see online. Whether you guys realize it or not, I'm on the Reddit. I'm on, Twitter and Instagram and Discord. I'm on all of these places looking at micronations, learning about micronations. I'm on YouTube looking up like small micronation channels to try and understand what they're doing right and wrong, to try and understand how I can help, to try and understand how I can educate, how I can promote and support these groups. It's tough. It's really tough to see micronations struggle and to see them fall out and to see their leaders quit and to see them, feel fatigued and overwhelmed. And so I have been trying to piece together that, and I have been asking questions, but it's important to ask some more. And I'm glad you guys are in the comments with us to try and do that today. Francisco says, for example, we have people that say religion is main sickness of Yara. Religion, especially Judaism, plays a big part in our culture. Then that's not a sickness. That's a part of your culture. So I would say no, focus on what's important to you, but make sure that that's done in a stable way. Don't lash out at people. Just show your stability and staying power, and people will eventually respect that. Michael Ryan says, agreed. Raz says, Francisco, is there a separation of church and state? Francisco says, no, there's no separation. We as people are religious. We have Christians, Muslims, and Jews. I myself am Jewish. That's wonderful, you see? And so if that's the kind of country that you want to create, then you can create that. You just need to do it in a stable way that legitimately supports its citizens. If your citizens aren't happy, your country's not going to work out. So make sure that you stabilize. And that's not to call out you specifically, Yara. That's just a point for everybody. I hear you talking about your growth, and I'm really proud of your growth. I want to see you turn into a success story. And I feel like the only way to do that is just make sure that as you get this growth, you stabilize. You had some difficulties in the past. You had some infighting. So now's the chance to turn that around. Now's the chance to say, okay, Yara isn't something that's going to, dip back down and see this decline or see another part of infighting, because then people would say, oh, it's a pattern. Oh, Yara's always in chaos. Oh, it's always this difficulty. Why would I become a citizen of Yara? There are other countries that aren't infighting. If you stabilize, though, and you can come back, you can say, that was a period in our history, we dealt with it, and now we're better for it. We have a more developed society, we have more understood rules, more supported citizens, and a more flourishing religious and cultural community. Michael Ryan says, you said it perfectly in this small niche. Too many chiefs and not enough Indians. Also, 90% are kids. Great participation, but limited ability and realistic worldviews. The pool is somewhat limited, says Michael Ryan. I agree with that to some extent. I would say that, yeah, there are a lot of young people in this community. But young people are great at the internet. Like, the internet is something that you can make money on for just being on it, which is crazy. There hasn't been anything else in history that's existed in the same way. And it's a struggle. 99.9999999% of people are never going to become, successful or making money just from being on the internet, just from, social media. But the people who do make a killing at it, you know what I mean? Like, even if you're not making money on the internet, you can still connect to friends. You can still explain your interest. You can still have an individual little video or like post or whatever that you make go viral because people agree with it so much. Kids are great at social media. And so, if these micronations can stabilize, the longer that you're on the internet, the more people are naturally going to know about you because they're going to stumble upon your stuff. Even micronations that are completely dead and don't have anybody as a part of them anymore, still to this day, their micro-wiki pages get traffic. Their websites get traffic. Their YouTube pages get traffic. And they're not getting any of that growth because they decided to leave. And that's fine. If they needed to do that, that's something that's important to them as the individual, and they get to decide that. We should all be happy for them and respect their choice. That being said, there are opportunities, and that's what I'm trying to show you. The longer that people try to fixate on, oh, well, I need to be successful now, or I'm not going to be successful, the more that they miss the fact that by existing on the internet, and by learning, and by adapting, you will grow naturally. It happens. You will have some periods of stagnation, you will have periods of decline, but the longer you can stabilize yourself, the longer you can stay on the internet and stay out here doing things and promoting micronationalism, the larger the community gets, which means the more people will traffic to your stuff, and also the more people will traffic to your stuff just because it's out there and exists. So there are like, I forget the number, but there are like thousands of people that are born every single day on this planet. There are thousands of people, or maybe hundreds of thousands of people every day who are like joining the internet from third world countries which are developing and gaining larger access to the internet, as well as just rural areas in every country that are getting more access to the internet, as well as people who are getting born every single day, older people who are learning how to use the internet every single day, who are starting to come across these things and who can help you to develop and to provide insight to what you're doing. So don't feel like, oh, it's too late to start. Don't feel like, oh, there's too many young people, so it's too difficult. Young people are killing the game, and they will continue to kill the game. It is hard, and it's going to be a struggle. There are also older people who are killing the game on the internet. So age, I feel like, matters to the extent that running a country is a hard thing to do. If your age is under double digits, you're probably going to have a hard time doing everything that it takes to run a true, fully developed nation. But that doesn't mean that you can't do it eventually. That doesn't mean that as you continue to develop and learn more about the world, that won't help you to continue to grow that nation and to ultimately become what you need to in order to lead it. At the same time, there are plenty of people who are 60 years old who may have been running micronations for years and years who still don't know all of that and who are still struggling with that because they don't have fully developed UN recognized nations either. So that's not a problem. It's just a struggle for stability. Teaching people when they come into this community early on, hey, don't be messing around. We have work to do. We as a community have work to do. We have things we need to get done to support each other and to help each other. This is a fun community. This is a group of people who love each other and want to help each other grow and succeed. But we've got a job to do, people. We have a way that we need to grow. We have support networks that we need to be establishing. And if we don't, we're going to keep spinning our wheels. So it's time to get to work. The more that we establish standards for this community, the more that we establish ideas that are ingrained into this community for people to connect to each other, for people to stabilize, for people to become more proficient at what they do, we will see more and more micronationalists come in, see the culture, and adapt to it. All of these things like micronational warfare, like YAMOs, like, mean micronations, and all of these things are things that will probably always exist. And they're things that aren't just going to disappear because you want them to. But at the same time, they're things that will probably be greatly diminished as we start to develop a more intellectual culture, as we start to develop a more complex culture, I should say. One that is more aged, one that is more thorough in what it does. And that doesn't mean your age. That means a community which understands what it wants and knows how to get it. When people figure that out, when people come into the micronational community, even if they're really young, and they go, oh, that's how you achieve success? Okay. And they start doing it because they've seen other micronations do it, then most micronations are talking about that because they see it as the way to success. They're going to move toward the easiest way to compete. But if there is no blueprint, if there's no guide for how to do that, they're going to be everywhere. They're going to be lost. And so they're just going to do what they want to do in order to create that and hope that it works. They're blazing their own trails. They're making their own paths to success. We just have to deal with the community itself is immature. Not necessarily because of people's ages, but because of how little success we have seen. And it's important to understand that, and it's important to know that that's just a stepping stone in this larger community's growth. The real novice says, my constitution has 1,000 words so far, but I'm only going to add to it when I need to avoid burnout. Agreed. And that's 100% respectable. I would say as well, 1,000 words is interesting because that's kind of a good length, right? Like 1,000 words is pretty wordy, but at the same time, I've written papers in college that are significantly more. You know what I mean? 1,000 words, depending on how you space it, could be anywhere from like maybe 5 pages to like 10 or 15. Um, double space maybe, but it's something that still really, really goes into like, does that fit where your nation is now? Are you doing all of those 1,000 words accurately? Are those 1,000 words detailed descriptions of how your nation looks now, or dreams of what your nation should be? You can have some dreams in there, let there be some dreams, but don't focus solely on the dreams. Focus on what's there now and what people get out of that document. When you hand someone that document, are they going to read through the whole thing? Are they going to have to reference back to it later in order to be a successful citizen of your nation? These are things that are questions that are really important that allows somebody to develop and refine that document. So 100%, I would say, you're saying like I won't add to it until I start to get burnout, and I completely agree that's a smart idea. But don't even necessarily think of it as addition. You know what I mean? If your thing is 1,000 words, you can add more to it. You can make it longer. But if I were you, next time you go to edit it or work on it, I would say, see what you can do to try and keep it under like 1,200 words or whatever. Like, see if there's things you need to add or take away or like condense down such that you can write more and add more to it without increasing the word count very much. That way, you are learning about what's important to your citizens, seeing what they think is like fat in the document versus like the real important stuff that they need to know. And also, it helps to make it easier to digest for yourself and to constantly have in your mind what that full document is. So that way when someone asks you, hey, tell me about your nation, you can quote it, you can have it right there, and you can have the full breakdown understood in your mind. Of course, you may be a very intelligent person and can keep 1,000 words locked into your mind easy. I would struggle to do that. I would have difficulty saying, hey, I can quote to you right now every single paragraph of the Guide to Foundation and Principles, and it's not even 1,000 words. But that being the case, it's important for you to do that simply because your people are going to need to know about that. People who are recruited to your nation are going to need to know that. People who are teaching other people about your nation are going to need to know that. If you have people who are designated to recruit for your nation, they need to understand it really well, and your basic document, your founding document, is going to be the thing that tells them that. When people are training your citizens and telling them what they need to do and how they need to operate and what your culture is about, they're going to need to know that. So that document and refining it does detail stability in your nation just because it helps people to have a foundational step in understanding your nation. So that'll be a video for a whole different time. You know, constitutions and founding documents and stuff like that. Vincent says, what I would usually would be make an article of government that's less specific than a constitution, but as an outline of how the government operates. I completely agree with that, Vincent. And that's something very similar to what we have in the Guide to Foundation and Principles. In Aeternia, Vincent and I have, this document, which I wrote, I think, over a year ago, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, that really solidifies what it is in a basic sense to be Aeternian. Again, it talks about the culture. It has an introduction, a preface that gives this very like mystical view of kind of the philosophy that we have and why we're moving forward with who we are. It details a little bit about our culture so that you can know what it means to be an Aeternian. For example, Aeternians follow the Holocene calendar. So if you didn't know that, that's something that's important to Aeternia. In Aeternia right now, it is, June 13th, 14th, something like that. Tuesday, June 14th of the year 12,022. Not 2022, 12,022. So, that being the case, we have a lot of unique development to our culture. Our government, again, just like Vincent said, it's important to have an outline of your government, and we have some things that define terms, but pretty much that's all it is. Hey, this is one term, this is another term, this is another term, this is another term. These are the definitions, this is how they work, this is how they work with each other. And that's it. That's all we have. It's not like a super long, complex document that tells every formal regulation for each government office, because that's not necessary. When people come in, especially because we're a monarchy, I can just tell them, these are the things you need to do, this is the way you need to go about this. Other leadership positions can, inform you further. Those people relay to me, and my word gets passed on through them. But the primary things that they need to know, the basic structure and understanding, comes directly from that document, and it's something that can easily be cited. Michael says, so everything attainable is based on participation and financial abilities. Work on those. If you figure out the cure, let me know. Stability. Stability, Michael Ryan. Do you hear it? Stability. The cure is stability. The longer you're around, the more people know about your nation, which is what? Participation. The more people who know about your nation, the more people, on average, are going to have participated in your nation. Sure, there's still going to be people who come in and drop off. But the more that you're here, the more you can fine-tune that system to keep those people in for longer and longer periods of time. So your average participation is going to grow up, is going to grow up, is going to glow up, is going to get there. The same thing with finances. The longer that you exist, the more average finances you're going to have. It may just be a blip here and a blip there, but if you're saving that money the whole time, you'll build up a significant stack. Over the 3 years that Aeternia developed, before we purchased our land purchase, this year, we saved around $1,000. It was a little bit under $1,000 that we were able to put toward our land purchase goal. That was tough. That was a lot to do. And we still didn't have monetization of this channel. And yet, we achieved it. We had to put in a lot of our own money, bear in mind. But that helped. If we wouldn't have had that, we would have still been very short on being able to purchase that land. So that being the case, we had this community that helped us. And it helped us specifically because of this longevity, because of how long we've been here, how hard we pushed ourselves to try and market and get things out there, and ultimately what worked and what didn't. Like, we just stuck to it. Stability, Michael Ryan. That's the cure. Francisco says, Raspberry says, Francisco, so is it a religious nation? Francisco says, yes. Raspberry says, that's unique. Raspberry says, I struggle with culture. Stability helps with culture as well, because the longer you're around, the more ideas will be generated. The more ideas are generated, the more history you have. The more history you have, the more culture you have. So, for example, in Aeternia, we have a holiday that's coming up very quickly. On, I believe, June 18th is Gary's Day, which if you don't know about it, you should check out our Guide to Foundation and Principles. Gary the snail, we actually had 2 different Garys, were rosy wolf snails that in Aeternia's history we tried to raise as our first farm animal. We tried to breed them as a means of developing an economic resource for our nation. Of course, that didn't work out. We did have a pair that was able to breed, but they didn't breed, they didn't last very long, and they eventually died. It was really sad, but we missed the 2 Garys, we loved them very much, and ultimately, they have been remembered in our hearts. They're a part of our history, they have been a part of previous videos. We had people who would talk about them and make music off them all the time when they were alive, and even after they passed. So that being the case, we have Gary's Day. We celebrate Gary's Day here, and that's just a part of our culture. That's just a part of who we are and what we do. So that being the case, definitely just through stability, you will achieve different cultural milestones. Those cultural milestones are super important though, because sure, in Aeternia we develop plenty of stuff culturally that just comes off the cuff. We developed the leg wraps for our nation that are still a part of our culture today, and that are still an active, thriving part of what we're doing, but they're very new. So we're still developing them. I'm still wearing them more and more and trying to understand how to incorporate them larger scale into our nation. But that being the case, we're doing it. It's an off-the-cuff thing that we're trying to establish, but part of that's just going to take time. It's just going to take time for it to feel like a natural part of our nation. But having natural cultural milestones is going to be huge. And that, again, all comes with the cure for micronational sickness, which is stability. Stability, stability, stability. Okay. Michael Ryan said culture kind of defines itself from citizen input. Agreed, Michael Ryan, to an extent. You can develop culture yourself. You are the first citizen of your micronation. So in that way, yes, 100% citizen input has to do with it. At the same time, sometimes there are going to be things that just happen in your micronation that are interesting, that really aren't as a part of citizen input, and more so are just things that you think are interesting. That's, again, citizen input to some degree, but it's not like you had to get everybody to come together and be excited about one thing. You can just label things. If, for example, a lightning strike hits a tree in your yard, and your micronation is, the house that tree was at, then you can say, hey, this is the day of the great strike, or the day of the great fire, or whatever, that occurred because of that lightning strike. That's something that'll be significant in your nation's history that really isn't, a part of anybody's like active choice to develop. It was just something significant that happened that you can't help. There are going to be plenty of things. The leader's birthday, stuff like that, a lot of the time becomes a cultural milestone in a micronation and helps with the stability of that nation. That has nothing to do really with like citizen input. A lot of the time that's just, an important thing that people recognize. Raspberry says, I find it difficult to find what it means and what difference is between culture and religion. Depending on your micronation, they may be very well intertwined. If that's what you want, you can do that. However, if there's a very large difference between culture and religion in your nation, for example, if your nation, like ours, has a separation between church and state, our nation is fairly secular in the sense that we define in fact, is completely secular. We define the governing of our nation by no religion. We allow support of other religions, but religion itself does not have any place in our political arena. That being the case, our culture is very, very different from any religion. But for your nation, like for example for Yara, culture and religion are almost identical, where their religion really heavily influences their nation. So a lot of culture will be carried over from those religions. That's up to you. That's on who you are and what you think is important. Vincent said, wait, AP, wait, Vincent. What's up? Michael Ryan says, more difficult if it's just you. Oh, I understand. 100%. It's more difficult if it's just you, but there's still plenty to do. There's still plenty of way to grow and develop and succeed. Vincent said, would you like to contract me to make the flags for it? 100%. We have to have orders first, though. We don't have a single order yet for the Garden of Nations. If you want to hit it up, Ko-fi.com/Aeternia. Go to our commissions section. You can hit up the Garden of Nations, where you can get your flag put on our soil in Vitae in a beautiful garden for the world to see. And it supports us to have growth. Raspberry says, I have around 8 citizens. That's a good number of citizens. Aeternia has like 12 citizens, and we have to struggle a lot to keep everybody active and on board and doing stuff. So don't try to have a ton of citizens. Have citizens who are actively meaningful to what you're doing. That's a great number of citizens. Michael Ryan says there's an overlap in secular nations, no doubt. 100%. Reptile says, hey, I'm back. What did I miss? We missed you, Reptiles, but also you missed us talking a lot about culture and micronations. You might have missed us talking about the cure for micronational sickness, which is stability. Real Novus says, good night. Good night, Real Novus. You going to bed? I guess I don't know what time it is for you. It's 12:03 p.m. for us, so maybe he's taking a midday nap. Michael Ryan says, so your nation is religious nation, mandatory? Raz says, night. Michael Ryan says, reptile, the struggle to expand micronations and keeping citizens. Yep, 100%. That is some stuff we talked about. Okay, Michael Ryan says, no, good night. Michael says, yeah, the religion thing. Sorry, phone was dying. I'm tethered to my PC across the room. But thank you for supporting us, and thank you for keeping our watch time hours up. We have been trying steadily to keep, above, 20 watch time hours. We want to try and hit, 20 watch time hours minimum every single day so that we can hit 4K watch time hours by the time we go to MicroCon. That's the hope, that's the plan, and that's what we're going to try and do. So the longer that you guys stay in the stream, the more that you help us out by watching and listening and paying attention, and especially liking the video. the more that it helps us to spread this out, to get this information to the good people of the world, and it also helps us to boost our watch time up so we can stay stable. Francisco says secularism is degeneracy. State cannot function normally without a church. Disagree, but I hear you. Raz says, I don't have a mandatory religion. I mean, personally, I don't understand the difference. I mean, yeah, if you don't have a mandatory religion, then your culture may be very different from your religion. That's fine. Michael Ryan says, state can function and should without mandatory religion. I agree, Michael Ryan, 100%. And then they're going back and forth. Reptile says, I don't enforce religion in my nation. Most people don't. Most nations around the world nowadays are secular. That's not to say there aren't some that aren't theocracies, but very few are. Michael Ryan says, the difference being citizens adhere to religious prayer times, policy solely based on religion, not science. Raz says, personally, I think mandatory religion isn't the best. Agreed. Michael Ryan says, you don't need religion for people to be good. Agreed. Now y'all are getting into a religious conversation. Michael says, AP, you have it right, ... Mostly. You diversify your approach to engage with others. Minecraft, YouTube, Risk-Tourneys, education, instruction, and more. It leads to more opportunities for others. Yeah, 100%. I diversify to engage with others, but at the same time, it's like still really focused approaches. You notice we diversify to try and reach out to other people, but a lot of times we're not staying on that. The things that we're focused on, the things that keep us growing and stable, a lot of the times aren't things that are on YouTube. A lot of the times they're things that we're doing internal into our nation. A lot of the times they're things that are more so like these live streams, where we're regularly talking to people and keeping up with the people who are in our chat, where we're hitting things up on Discord, where we're posting stuff on our social media to try and like post a little bit and grow that, and working on a ton of these projects internal to our nation. Like, the stability of Aeternia is very different than like that diversify approach. That diversify approach is like a marketing approach, which helps us a lot and helps to benefit to reach out the community, but primarily the education of our community, the development of our internal projects, and the support of our local citizens is like huge to us. And that's really what keeps us stable. So that's not a ton of our like governmental approach. That's more so a marketing like one facet. And you'll notice with those different things we do, like Minecraft, like the Risk tournaments, like YouTube stuff, we're always like moving from one thing to the other. Of course that's beneficial for a marketing purpose, but other micronations shouldn't copy that to try and find stability, because it's not going to help you find stability. You have to be stable first. Michael Ryan said, Pride Month is important to many. We should be open to all thoughts and beliefs. Compassion. Agreed. 100%. Celebrate Pride Month. Go Pride Month. Don't pander. Don't be like some of these large corporations that put like Pride Month on their symbol and then also back like, countries that like don't support gay rights, or like put Pride Month in your company logo for Pride Month on like Twitter or whatever, and then support politicians and like fund politicians who have like anti-LGBTQ stances and who like actively create anti-LGBTQ like legislature. So I think that's really crazy. There are plenty of politicians who, for example, put Pride Month flag, gay pride flag, LGBTQ plus flag in their company's logos on social media, all except for like, all except for nations that are very anti-LGBTQ. And then they don't put the gay pride flag on that Twitter account, the Twitter account that's focused on that nation specifically. If you're supporting gay people, support them everywhere. It's just, I'm sorry, that's one little rant that I have. That's a side thing. Francisco said, ask Bishop of your church to approve that, don't ask me. Hey, Reptile says, I just sent AP pictures of my country. Hey, congrats, Reptile. I'm excited to see him. It's hard for me to open them on stream because I'm on my computer. I'm on my phone, not on my computer, but I will soon. Reptile said, I don't know. Michael says, I don't have to. We are all responsible for our own actions. Francisco says, political activity to be precise. Reptile says, me when there's a rebellion in my country. Oh, goodness. Is that a stability problem? It sounds like that could be a stability problem. That's why are you doing that? Michael says, AP, while you're talking, there are examples of religious blocking, LGBT insecurity, and more. Many here will fall simply due to non-inclusive policies and viewpoints. 100%. I agree. And that's something that's wild. The thing that's crazy, though, is I don't think that will make them fall necessarily. Like, I'm not saying they should continue to exist with radical viewpoints. You should try to be inclusive. Everybody here, try to take a page from the books of people who were absolutely hated in history and become inclusive. Learn from their mistakes and support people, or people will try to actively take you down. It's a problem. You shouldn't do it. You shouldn't be an enemy of people. You should be a friend to people. You should be loving and supportive. That all being said, a lot of micronations are fueled by hate groups. There are plenty of like weird micronations out there that have like white supremacist tints or like religious extremist tints who are well supported in the community and who exist even though they're not the most popular simply because they're funded and supported by people who want their ideals to be put to the top. So as long as there are people who will support the most evil and dastardly concepts, then yeah, they're gonna be, they're not gonna die out. Should they die out? Yes, but I don't think that should be the thing that you're stoking fear about. It's like, oh, if your micronation isn't inclusive, it's gonna die out. No, there will be hate groups that support you. You don't want to be associated with those groups. They're nasty. They're awful. They're the epitome of human suffering and of hate. You should want to be inclusive to other people because those are the people who are going to bring you the best ideas. Those are going to be the people who actually help to elevate you to become a nation. If that's what you want to do, if you're trying to become a nation supported by the UN, recognized by other countries, you should be looking to be representative of the world and of people who would want to become a part of your nation. Nobody wants to become a part of a hateful, bigoted nation. Michael Ryan says, rebellion, not possible. Dump those people and move on. Cured. Agreed, Michael Ryan. A lot of people have like rebellions and all this kind of stuff in their micronations. It's because they're allowing it. But yeah. Michael Ryan says, only the nicest autocratic micronations will succeed. That's very specific. I don't know. I think democratic micronations can succeed. They don't have to be autocratic, but I hear you. Reptile says, Michael Ryan, they want to replace me, but they are my friends, and yet they're not in full rebellion yet. And that's the thing. Again, they are allowing that to happen. There may be political instability in a micronation for a lot of reasons, and sometimes that's not always bad. But it is important to focus on stability, figuring out what the root cause of that is, and stabilizing it. Not stabilizing it under any means such that you then make it even worse and destabilize later on, but actually trying to find legitimate solutions to your problems, and that in and of itself stabilizing. Francisco said, anyway, gotta go, AP. See ya, Francisco. Good to have you. Michael says, you are a democracy or a republic? I guess they're talking to reptiles. Reptile says they're an absolute monarchy. Michael Ryan says, not an issue then. Listen, be fair but firm, and rule as you should. You might have to bend and adapt too. Agreed. 100%. You should listen to the people who are supporting you. Reptile says, so people in my country vote to a representative of a district that they pick, and the representatives report to the council, which tell me about stuff. Very cool. Let me go ahead and unplug this so that my phone doesn't keep heating up. Sorry guys, let me stabilize the camera a little bit. Reptile says, we have had multiple airsoft battles with other rebels for about the last month. Oh, goodness. Michael says, listen to people, provided your counsel is truthful and have the ear of the people. Agreed. Reptile says, that's not the problem. Some of the council think one of the council members would be better leader, so they're trying to remove me. Yeah, but if you're the, if you're the leader, you don't necessarily have to let that happen. Like, you can just be like, no, that's not how it works. I'm not letting that. That may cause people to leave, though. So, do what you want, but there's always going to be sacrifices to leadership. If you step down, it may preserve your nation, but your nation may become something
that you didn't want it to in the first place, or you can preserve your power in your micronation and cause people to leave, in which case you're shrinking your nation, but for the purpose of keeping to your ideals and goals. It depends on what's most important to you, the people or the nation, or the people or your ideals and dreams. Richard says, greetings, AP. Greetings, Richard. I miss you. It's good to see you. How have you been? Richard, if you guys don't know, is our number 2 aristocrat, nearly our first aristocrat, but he's our second aristocrat with David as our official first aristocrat. As well, of course, Richard is a wonderful citizen of Aeternia. It's good to see you, Richard. Michael says, can they? You are an absolute. I don't understand. Reptile says, the people support me, but my council is starting to distrust me. That's the problem. I know they can try to remove me with a rebellion, which they're thinking about. I'm losing control of my nation right now. They keep straying farther off the path. But again, that's you who determines that. Like, you can remove all those people from your micronation and say, like, I started this nation. I don't want you to be here anymore. Anybody that, like, opposes me, you're leaving. But if you do that, you will cause people to leave your nation. So it depends on what's most important to you. Michael says, AP and I don't have issue as absolutes. We run the risk of losing councilor citizens, but our say is final. No such thing as a rebellion. So lose them and move on if you can't adapt. Agreed. Vincent says, hold a referendum. You could. Republic says, I have a referendum meeting in 1 hour. Very nice. Vincent says, also, if you have any micronations in your area, try and merge and form a bigger nation. To some degree, like, yeah. Michael Ryan says, hi, Vincent. Hey, Michael Ryan. Richard says, AP for President of the USA. Oh, Richard, but I don't like the US. Like, I take that back. I like the US. I don't like the government structure of the US. I think the US is based on a slave state, and it still exists to some extent as a slave state. So I don't want to run the US. I would never want to be the president. If I were the president, I'd like try to change it. And I don't think people in the U.S. want it changed, and I don't want to change it. Like, you shouldn't walk into something that's been existing for hundreds of years before you and try to, like, dismantle it. That's not fair to the people who, like, exist there. You shouldn't be trying to, like, sabotage the U.S. or, like, do anything negative to it. You should just support your own group of people. That's what I want to be. If you feel like I should be the president of the United States, don't support me for president of the United States. Support me as the monarch of Aeternia. Become a part of Aeternia and help to build us to be more influential in the United States, and we'll get more people to support us and what we're doing. The United States can exist perfectly fine, just as the Empire of Aeternia can exist perfectly fine, and they can just be 2 different things. Reptile says, Vincent, I've been merging for years. Michael Ryan says, Reptile, I don't mean to be conceiting, condescending. The whole live stream exists because of rebellions that shouldn't exist. These council people are your true friends. You probably won't lose it. Reptile says, yes, I think I can talk some sense into them though. Agreed, and also, that's another problem with merging micronations together. Like, that's why I was like, kinda earlier, because if you start a micronation, and then another person starts a micronation, and then you guys say, we're gonna combine our micronations into this new micronation, you have to really hard determine who has the power there. You have to lay it down like 100%. This is how power is defined. This is how it works out. This is who has power first. This is how power is transitioned, if it's transitioned at all. And this is what needs to happen. Because both people are used to being leaders. That's something that I covered in the Dracul Psycholia stuff that happened a while back. In my opinion, one of the largest issues that happened there, Dracul was run one way, by a certain group of people with a certain ideology and background and culture. Psycholia was another thing with another group of people with a certain ideology, background, and culture. The leader of Psycholia, and I assume some of their citizens as well, from what I understood, became a part of Dracul. They didn't disband Psycholia, it still existed. They just became also a supporting part of Dracul. So then Dracul kept doing what Dracul does in its culture and its way of life and its stuff. And then Psycholians were upset because they couldn't change effect in Dracul. And that is a problem because, one, Dracul should be willing and able to change, especially when it comes to, like, inclusivity. Like, the matter was really about, like, in my opinion, like a human rights issue and inclusivity and stuff. So that was one thing. But On the whole other end, it had to do with this problem that Psychodians wanted to make Dracul more like Psychodia, in the sense that it supported particular human rights. And Dracul didn't want that. So you come into this problem of leaders from other micronations still feeling like they're leaders and going to other micronations and not being leaders in those micronations. So if reptile keepers has this problem where they're having like other micronations joined into their micronation, or they're merging micronations with other people to create a larger micronation, if your leadership and government are created by people who owned their own nations previously and ran their own nations previously, of course they're going to want to throw you out. Because they're going to go, hey, we all created this nation together, and I feel differently than you feel about certain topics, so I think my topic should be put ahead of your ideas and your topics. So if you're going to do that, you have to really, really focus in on what's most important, and really, really make sure that you, under no circumstances, have any question as to who has the power and why they have it. What I would suggest instead is having micronations join your previously established micronation, which was the case with Dracul and Psychodia. But I don't think Dracul made it clear enough, and I don't think Psychodia made it clear enough to themselves and to, one, you should really get to know the culture of the nation. That's a whole thing in and of itself for joining other nations. And you should really make sure that that's the right nation for you. But also, once you do that, and once you're establishing and connecting to all that, really, really make sure that what it is that you're doing has full understanding of all participants that, okay, this is the leader, this is who in charge, this is how they've been in charge, this is how it works. And those people either accept it and become a part of that nation, or they don't, and they don't. But if you have a whole new thing defined and created, it's kind of up in the air who has the power. And so things that are new are going to have instability right off the bat just naturally, but that makes it even worse if all of the people who are forming it are leaders of different micronations, which is what happens with Yamos all the time. Michael Ryan says, are they more important to you than the nation or the power? Reptile says, at least I can say that I tried. Reptile says they are close. Michael Ryan says that's important. Reptile says, I think I could talk them into joining back with the council. They are nice. Very cool. Michael says, if it was me, I would designate partial powers to one or two to make some limited changes. Compromise. Depending. Ninsut Wang Zin said hi. Hi, everyone. Hi, Wen. How are you? It's good to see you. Reptile says, also we have to worry about other nations that are not allies. The other nations around me always try to take over Greenistan. They never win. Good luck. Good luck with that. I believe you. Michael says, sounds like you worry too much about these things. Give some limited power, it will help. Raspberry says, sorry, I had to go for a little bit. That's okay, thank you for coming back. I appreciate it. Michael Ryan says, hi, we Raz. What about WB? I'm confused. Raspberry says, what's happening? Now we're talking about kind of a whole different thing, but still on the same topic. We've been focusing on Greenistan, which is Reptile Keeper's Nation. They were talking about rebellions that are happening. Michael Ryan's been jumping and talking about the concept that, like, you don't actually have to let a rebellion happen if you're the leader of a micronation. Reptile Keepers was talking about how they've formed a nation with other nations around them to, like, compromise and create new nations. But I brought up that that's a thing that happens with Yamos all the time, where they end up struggling and failing because they don't have stability, because, you know, there are a whole bunch of leaders coming together under one tent and trying to make it work, which is a struggle. Michael Ryan says pretty much the same topic, discussing internal issues. Absolutely. Reptile says, if I'm not talking about rebelling in 1 hour, I'll have to take matters into my own hands. Good luck. Wynn said, oh, yep. Reptile says, Reptile, you could use that. Reptile says, it's not looking good for the council. Use what? Raspberry says, internal issue solutions. Agreed. Stability. Focus on stability. Reptile says, yeah, I know, but if my talk doesn't work, then it might turn bloody. Not actual bloody, but it'll have welts from airsoft. Oh, good. Are you going to airsoft fight people? Michael Ryan says, okay, you use airsoft as a resolution. Good luck. Yeah, I don't know. I don't support that exactly, but I understand. Vincent says, I think you guys are fighting over dumb stuff and should consolidate instead. I completely agree. Reptile says, yeah, I have a loaded pistol with me right now. Reptile, stop. What are you doing, dude? Chill. Raspberry says, and he's talking about like an airsoft pistol, not like an actual pistol, I believe. Um, Raspberry says, yes, civil wars lead to more issues. Reptile says, I'm trying to do that, but they might want battle instead. But that's so silly. Michael says, simple. Band councilmen don't partake in airsoft. You are not an absolute monarchy. Agreed. They're not an absolute monarchy. It sounds like they're a constitutional monarchy, or some effect of it, if they're not ruling absolutely. Raspberry says, banning them will lead to frustration and anger. Yeah, but dude, if it's your micronation, like, do what you want. Michael Ryan says, reevaluate your political position. Reptile says, well, I'm going to 100% have to replace one of the councilmen. Why? New England says, good evening. Good evening, New England. Oh, they're going to bed. Michael Ryan says, it shows you're absolute. Republic says, one of the councilmen are far gone already. The rest I might be able to save. Raspberry says, use the excuse of treason against the nation. Oh, goodness. Y'all are coming up with real, like, dictatorial things now, being like, oh, you committed treason against my name, and I am going to take you down because of it. That's wild, dude. Y'all are going hard with this leaning constitution. Don't add just for fluff. Small and direct as long as it makes sense. Agreed. Michael Ryan says, reptile, it's easy for me. Hey, everybody. Sorry about that. We disconnected like half a second. It seems like there are these huge issues in micronations that really don't need to persist like that. Like, it doesn't make a ton of sense. There are micronations that are good and developing and working hard to try and like promote themselves and do stuff. And then it seems like some of the stuff, like for example with Greenistan, is like wheel spin, which is fine because it seems like you're like enjoying yourself and having fun. And if that's your goal, that's all it needs to be. But for most micronations that are trying to achieve nationhood, that's a lot of wheel spinning. And I think that's where we're coming into conflict in the chat right now, is that a ton of people are going like, yeah, like, this is silly, this wouldn't happen to me, I don't understand why this is happening. And Greenistan is like, I don't understand how you guys aren't having these problems. We're having these problems all the time. And it's because of what you're doing, the way that you're going about it. Greenestan's having fun, which is fine, they can do that, you can do whatever you want, but at the same time, if you are trying to develop something more legitimate, Greenistan, and you're trying to do it in a way that is going to achieve larger successes for you and your nation and help you to further stabilize, you gotta figure some stuff out. You gotta start reining some stuff in and say, okay, we're trying to do work, we're trying to promote stuff, you don't want to kill the fun. If you kill the fun, people are gonna leave, you're not gonna get a ton of support, you're gonna have to entirely revamp what it is you're doing to bring some of that fun back to it. But, on the other hand, if you have too much going on, and everybody's just doing whatever they want, and things are happening, but it's not really creating any forward momentum, you're not getting a ton out of all the time you're spending. You're having fun with your friends, which is great, and that should be something that you focus on. But if you're trying to get a legitimate established nation out of it, the more that you rein it in and can use those people to help you achieve real goals in that nation's development and plan those things out accordingly, you can then start to have fun and make achievements at the same time, which is ideal. That's primo. Reptile says, yeah, I know wiki. Raz says, Reptile says, put one on my wiki. Raz says, list every meeting in its summary. Assign a person to type while the meeting is in session. Oh, that's very good, actually. That's a great way to do both. I was just talking about the concept of, like, you should have fun, and you should do the stuff, but you should also find a way to, like, promote what you're doing. Raz killed it. Raz was like, oh, easy clap. Just get people to like talk about what you're doing while you're doing it. Good. That's a good one. I really like that. That's legitimate. Reptile says, okay. Michael Ryan says, thanks for replying to my post about stability 20 minutes later. I'm sorry, Michael Ryan. I'm actively going through the chat, but I want to like, okay. So this is the thing that gets to me, right? I have done this for so long that there are plenty of people who are in the chat who have been here for a long time. So, if I want to do the stream in the beginning for all the people who are going to be here for after it's over. There are going to be plenty of people who watch the stream and enjoy it after it's over. So I want to fill the beginning of the stream with as much content as possible for those people. If you're still here watching this video after it's over, like to this point, definitely drop me a comment and give me a like, because I appreciate that. You would be sifting through comments with us. That's a real, like, long-time micronational learner. You're like legitimately like going out of your way to hear what micronations in this time period, whatever point in the future this is coming to you at, are hearing. So from the year 12,022, I appreciate you. That being the case, there are plenty of people who want me to read their comment all the way from the beginning of the stream. So it's the thing where if I talk for an hour and a half or 2 hours before I get to any comments, then I might have passed your comment up. Like if I went all the way down to the bottom of the stream and then started reading comments, everybody would go, "You missed my comment. You didn't reply to any of my comments because I left after 30 minutes in the stream." Which I understand. People are busy. That's fine. But people would get upset if I didn't read their comments. So I go back and read their comments. I'm just late in the stream to do that. Reptile says, well, I'll start today, but we don't meet a lot, only in times of crisis. Still very cool. Michael Ryan says, use the Discord channel so you can go over notes if you don't have a note taker. Baliga jumps in. Hey, Baliga, it's good to see you. How are you? What's been up? Michael Ryan says, hi. Raz says, exactly why writing it would be important. Agreed. Thank you so much, Raz. And thank you so much, Baliga, for joining us. Reptile says, I'll use like a councilman one, so why are we here? Oh crap, gotta go for now. Just got an email from one of the councilmen. Good luck, Reptiles. Raz says bye, good luck. Everybody says bye. UASR, United Allied Soviet Republic, joined in and says, USAR loves your nation. Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate you all. And I thank you so much for supporting Aeternia. Aeternia forever. USAR, we're glad to have you here. Reptile says they want to meet now. See you guys in a little bit. See you, Reptiles. UASR says your nation has been a great inspiration for us. Thank you very much. I appreciate you all, and I hope that we can continue to help. We're trying to educate. We're trying to grow awareness about the micronational community, and we're trying to get your support. So, again, I'm going to plug the stuff. Monetary resources, if you have any of those, if you got the fresh cash that you want to spend, you can advertise by 1, supporting us on our Patreon, 2, supporting us on our Ko-Fi, and on our Ko-Fi we have commissions. One of those commissions is to get your nation's flag in the Garden of Nations, which is a whole thing. We have a ton of commissions, some including Microcon, like specialty things that we're going to do at Microcon. If you want to support us, you get special access to stuff there. But if you want to support us and have your nation like shown off, one of the great ways you can do that is by having your flag in the Garden of Nations, I think for like $15. So that would be great, and it would mean a lot. Raspberry says, gotta go. Michael Ryan says, see you, Raz. Connor Hedner says, hello, I have a question. Hey, Connor, what's going on? How's your, how are you doing? How's Connor Minnesland, and how are, what's your question? UASR says, we got a lot of our government ideas from the videos you've made. Thank you very much. That means a lot. Which videos? I have like a ton, and we can share more with you. As well, if you haven't joined our Discord, you should join our Discord, because that's a great way to connect to a lot of other people and learn a lot about micronationalism. And I can plug you with a whole bunch more video ideas that we have talked about that you may not have seen. Connor Hedner says, does Aeternia have a currency that has value? Connor Minnesland is establishing a fiat currency. Yes, we have a fiat currency. That fiat currency is the aristocrat, which has all the people who have purchased Aeternian currency and the amount of imperial notes, the Aeternian currency, that they have purchased. As of right now, our top highest one is David the Blacksmith at, I believe, 201 imperial notes. Below that, I think, is Richard Taylor, with both of whom are citizens, with like 100-something notes. Like there are like a number of notes that we have sold. Packs of 5 notes for $5 plus shipping. So, if you guys are interested in getting those and supporting our economy, you can do so that way. We're trying to save up. One of our next big goals is our money transmitters license. If we can get that, then we can actually use our currency and exchange it for US dollars. As of right now, we can't do that because that would be illegal. But if we can do it properly and get licensed to do so with a money transmitter's license, then we can go around to all businesses all over and say, support our currency, use our currency, we can exchange it legally. Connor Hedner says, Connor Minnesland is establishing a fiat currency. Connor says, why is the quality so bad? Might be my internet. I think our quality is alright. Let us know if it is. Vincent says, hello, I'm back. What's a YAMO? YAMO stands for Yet Another Micronational Organization. There have been so many micronational organizations that have been created and fall apart that people have started to call them YAMOs, yet another micronational organization. It's a derogatory term, which means somebody who says, my micronational organization is going to be different. What if we started a UN-type nation that's going to, change the world and help every micronation and solve all our problems? And most of the time, so that's exactly why. They fall apart. Nate says, I literally left out to go to lunch shopping, out to lunch, go shopping, and you're still live. Yes, sir, because we're dedicated to the cause, trying to grow micronational support. Nate says, yet another micronational organization. Vincent said, are they bad? Stop, bro. Let's Keeper says, hey, I'm back. Damn, that was not fun. I'm sorry to hear. What happened? Also, that was very short. Vincent says, I always get my airsoft guns unloaded. There's a safety risk. Makes sense. Reptile says, lots of cussing, and we have one less council member now. Good for you guys, I guess. That's wild, though. Connor Hendner says, Connor Minnesland is establishing a government market in which you can buy stuff. Very cool. Don't call it the Imperial market, though. We already had one micronation that straight up copied us on it. Reptile Keeper says, AP, that meeting was, I was in, did not go the best. How did it happen? Let me know what happened. I think I'm now all caught up in the comments. So yeah, keep me updated. Also, if anybody wants to post new comments, I can react live now. I can see them as they go up, and maybe like 5 minutes off or so, but hopefully we can get you in while you're watching. Ooh, another comment. Connor Henry says, we won't LOL because we are an empire. I appreciate it. That makes sense. And again, yeah, it means a lot. I'm excited to see other micronations like starting their own stuff. One of the things that we've been really big on and tried to pride ourselves in with our micronational market, with our imperial market, is all of our stuff is handmade. So everything that is developed in Aeternia and sold in the imperial market is made in Aeternia. So not necessarily every single piece of every single thing. Like, for example, we sold the Owl's Mark. And the Owl's Mark, the individual pieces of it were not made by us, but we assembled them. We, packaged them. We made them special to us. And we did do assembly and stuff. It wasn't like, you just drop ship it. But for a lot of our other stuff, like the Unity medals, we made all of that, 100% ourselves, besides the little metal pieces that were on it that we didn't have the ability to shape until recently. More updates on that. But yeah. Reptile says, AP, for you it seems short, but since I wrote the comment that it was leaving, it's now been a half an hour. That's true. I was just zooting through comments. Reptile Keeper said, we had to fire 3 councilmen. Oh, we had to fire councilman number 3. Gotcha. He was leading the rebels. The rest stayed. They turned on him. Hey, very cool. Connor Hedner says, how do you make the regalia in Aeternia? Well, partially sewing, partially purchasing things, partially we have a metal refinery. You know what I mean? We've worked a long time to be able to do that stuff. It's not easy by any means. We would like to be able to do more of that. If you wanted to purchase stuff from us one day to resell in your own stuff, let me know. We can create stuff for you because we want to make a larger industry and a larger business based around supporting other micronations. So if you wanted to buy stuff for your micronation through us and then resell them to your citizen, oh, these are Connor Minnesland specific pins or specific metals or specific clothing or whatever, let me know because I would really love to make that and we're trying to make some money, so it would help us out a ton. And if you bought in bulk, of course, I could make the price cheaper so that you could sell them individually and still make a profit. We could talk about all that, but yeah, we're trying to get larger micronational contracts with people just like you so that we can support the community. So let me know. Reptile says, you can see the transcript from the meeting on my wiki page. Hey, very cool. I'm glad you did it. Vincent says, I'm playing War Thunder while listening to this. Hey, very cool. Thank you for playing, Vincent. Thank you for playing. Thank you for joining us, Vincent, and good luck with what you're playing. I hope you enjoy it. Reptile says, I think I have the council back under my control, but the rebels in the east are still a problem. I think Councilman 3 might be the rebels leading. That makes sense. That sounds like it just is. Connor says, could you make a custom flag for me? Yes, we could. We have Vincent who actually makes flags. So yes, 100% we could have somebody make you a flag. Yup, we just could. Absolutely. That would mean a lot. 100%. Yeah, if you can email me at eternianempire@gmail.com or message me, DM me on our Discord, we can get that set up for you. Yes, sir. So Vincent said yes, just let me know. Vincent, because like Eternia thing, I'd prefer to like route it through the government and then to use the contracted through us thing. So yeah, if you wouldn't mind, please reach out to me. I can get it to Vincent. We can do the whole connection thing. And that'll also help to establish Vincent, if he chooses to, as an official attorney in business. So we could do oh, very cool. Vincent said, yeah, I'm asking you to let me know. Thank you. I blanked on it. My apologies. I sometimes misunderstand the context of the messages. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, 100%. I can do that. Reptile Sea Keeper says, oh, AP, can I send you my flag too? I'll send it right now. It's simple. Hey, very cool. Yep, we would definitely do that. Hey, very nice. So, Vincent, it looks like you might have some contracts for micronational flags. That would be awesome. And it would mean additional profits for Eternia and additional profits for Vincent, which makes his citizenship more valuable, which helps to increase the stability of Eternia, which helps us to market Eternia, which helps us to keep growing, which helps us to keep getting more businesses, which helps us to keep developing and getting those watch time hours. You guys are helping us kill it. This is exactly how it works. Like, when you guys think of something that you want or need for your micronation, let us know. We've been working for years to try and figure out how we can make things that help us to make stuff for the micronational community easier. We have 3D printers, we have access to a 3D printer, we have a metal refining industry, and now we have contracted businesses with us who can do things like sewing for us that we can like export stuff to. We have a blacksmith now who can do like metal melting for us. So we got a ton of stuff. Nate says, stop singing, my man. Never, Nate. You will not crush Eternia's happiness. Never in my life will I stop singing. That's the great thing about being an emperor. You can have the worst voice in the world, and people still have to listen to you sing. You cannot watch the stream, and I would be sad about it. But I will cater to your whims for this one moment to keep you in the stream. But I do enjoy singing from time to time. So I'm sure the people who end up living in Vitae will be quite annoyed because anytime I show up, there's maybe a 0.4% chance. Like, it'll probably be rare, but if something real exciting happens that I get like giddy about, oh, you know I'm gonna like throw a little like hum in there, a little sing. And people are gonna be like, ugh. He always comes in at like 4 a.m. singing. We don't know why, but this is what happens. This is what happens. So kind of broke. Reptile, that means a lot to us. And if you send us your flag, and if you like save up money and are able to do it, first off, we're probably going to make it like reasonably priced. It shouldn't be like $1 million, but we'll try and see how much it is. As well, if you don't want to buy like the full size flag, hold up. Nate says make a flagpole in Eternia and put up the flag. So we do have a flag and we want to put it up. The problem is it's such a nice flag and we only have one. If we put it up in the sun is going to bleach it. The UV rays will bleach it and it'll become messed up. So I want to put that flag inside and I want to buy like a whole bunch of cheap flags or get them made out of like UV resistant material so that we can actually like hang them up and have them nice. But yeah, also, for Connor, I think Connor wants like a big flag made, like a full flag. So that may be a little bit more expensive than what you would want, Reptile. But if you want like a small flag, we can straight up make you a small flag. And if you purchase the thing on our Ko-Fi page, we could even put it in the Garden of Nations for you. And we could be like, hey, here's your flag, and it's actively represented in Eternia. I think it's like $15. It's a small flag, but still. Connor says, Connor Minislin has a 3D printer. We make awards out of PLA regalia. Very cool. Connor says we make awards out of PLA. Very cool. Connor says regalia. Oh, very cool. Yeah, we can absolutely make you regalia, Connor. We can make you, medals. We can make you probably like a crown or like jewelry. We could probably make you like some cloth pieces depending on what you wanted. The problem with doing like bigger clothing and stuff is we would need your sizes, and that becomes complex. So I feel like that would be more limited. But you never know. We might be able to set it up. Nate says so just let me know. Let me know what you would want, and we can like figure out pricing and talk to you about it. Nate says we need more Winslow rapping. I will get you. I have a song that I worked on a while back that I want to put up, but I haven't. I've been like working on micronational stuff. I've been doing other stuff. If you've subscribed to my Winslow rapping channel, you 100% should get a new rap because I haven't put one out in a long time. Connor said and stuff. We also make 3D printed coins. Very cool. Vincent says a reptile. It all depends on what your flag looks like and how many colors and designs it has, what size the flag is going to be and stuff. Reptile says it only has 3 colors. Connor Hedner says, did Vincent make it? Did Vincent make what? The flag? Vincent did not make our flag. We actually had that gifted to us by the Master of Treasure, Stephen Vince, who may or may not be coming to Microcon with us. We're still trying to figure out details for Microcon, but it seems like he's getting excited about it. We're getting excited about it. Reptile says, I don't care about size. Vincent says, no, I don't make the flag. He has. I could, though. 100%. Vincent could. I've seen Vincent's flags. Connor says, I want handheld flags, too. Oh, very cool. So, yeah, then we could do both, We can make small flags, big flags. It's just, again, it's going to depend on what Vincent can do and what his prices are. Reptile says, okay, I might be a while until I can pay them. My nation is going through a bad spot right now. All good. Our nation is looking for money as well, so I completely understand that. It's just we have to wait until we could, get your money together to pay Vincent before he would make the flag, because it wouldn't be fair for him to, put in the time and effort and money on his end and, lose money to make a flag for you guys, and then something happens and it takes a while. So we'd just rather wait to do the transaction until you have the money, but we'll still support you regardless. Vincent says, let AP know when I can make stuff. Thank you, Vincent. I have a sewing machine, so I know where to take orders. Hey, congrats, Vincent. I'm excited for you. Reptile says, okay, I just sent him the flag called flag.png. Thank you, Reptiles. Michael Ryan says, I'm going to supply micronational sock puppets. Hey, that'd be cool. People like micronation balls, so I'm sure the micronational sock puppets would be pretty cool. I'd be excited. Do you think people would play with them, on camera? Do you think they'd be like, no? I would like to think so. I would be hyped about it. If you sent us, you'd have to send it to us. But if you sent us a micronational sock puppet, I'd probably play with it on camera. I'd probably throw it up. Reptile says, AP, is your P.O. box up to date? It's not. It's not. So it actually just expired. It was all the way up until, early June. June, 5th or 6th. I ended up having it canceled because I was supposed to renew it, but the renewal cost is $130, and I didn't have, or $160 or something, and I didn't have the money to do it, so I didn't renew it. I just didn't. We have the land now, so hopefully instead of that, we'll be able to get just a straight up mailbox on the land and set it up to be able to get mail there. But until then, we're just chilling. So soon we will have P.O. Box stuff back up and running, but it won't be P.O. Box, it'll be just our straight up actual land. Michael Ryan says, I'll never tell if I play with them. Why not, Michael Ryan? I'd want to know. Can you send us one? I wanna have an Aeternia sock puppet. I would use it and stuff. Connor says, Connor Manisland will have homemade stickers soon. Hey, congrats. Vincent says, Reptile, if you have Discord, you can send it to me on there. Send it to AP. And he can send it to me? Thank you, Vincent. Reptile says, dang, I was going to say I would send you Douglas fir seeds. No, sorry about that. In order to do, to do the planting thing we talked about a while back, I would appreciate it. I got to figure that out. I got to get the P.O. Box back up. That's going to be one of our, big short-term goals. I got to get some money from somewhere, but then we're going to go. We have to put a culvert in the land, which is going to be like $200 to purchase the culvert. Then we're gonna need to put the culvert in. It's like $200. Then we'll probably get our mailbox set up. And then we'll have that back so you can send it directly to there. Then, we're probably going to be working on sending out stuff that I've needed to send out. That I told Stamaria I would send, so I'll do that. And then, other than that, just more stuff for the land. Like, we're going to have a lot more stuff for the land that needs to get fixed up. Also, we'll actually, and then Microcon. Yeah, so we're going to have like a few hundred. Microcon's probably going to come at the top, honestly. It's probably going to be Microcon tickets, Stamaria package, freaking culvert. I was trying to think of the word. Culvert, and then putting up the not P.O. box, but the mailbox. Reptile says, Vincent says, also the biggest flag I made was the Kavarian one I made for my personal thing for my video game group, and it's 2 feet by 3 or 4 feet. Hey, very cool. I'm excited to see. You sent a picture on the Discord, I believe. Reptile says, dang, Vincent, that's big to make yourself. Absolutely. It's a pretty good size. Vincent says, I made it with a needle and thread by hand. I didn't have a sewing machine just yet. Very cool. I know the hardest thing with that is like the embroidery. Embroidery is tough for that. Connor Hetner says, Connor Minisland will probably buy desk flags from another supplier, but we will probably buy the others from you. Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Yeah, I would be excited about that. And again, if you want a flag in our Garden of Nations, $15, we set it up. We stick your flag in the ground. We do it. Nate says the current total value of all imperial notes in circulation is $2,335. I think I did the math right. Maybe. I think it'd be around 1,000 something. I'd have to double check, but you could be right. Like it's a significant amount of money. It really is. And we have that like set aside in a bank account. We had to spend some of it, like I said, to purchase our land funding, our land purchase. But we have like enough to cover that, like just set aside, unable to be touched, because we have to keep the value of those notes. Connor says, how do you get a Garden of Nations flag? All you do is you go to our Ko-Fi, that's ko-fi.com/Aeternia. The link is the link should be in the description of this video, although somebody said that the Ko-Fi was spelled wrong, so double check the link, but it should be ko-fi.com/Aeternia. You go into commissions on our Ko-Fi page, click commissions. There are a number of them, some of them to help us out with Microcon, some of them to get the Garden of Nations flag, and you can click on that Garden of Nations flag. I think it's like $10 or $15, and then you can purchase that, and we will get you a flag in our Garden of Nations. You would actually be the first one if you did that. Reptile Keeper says, AP, the heat around here is crazy. It really is. It's like 80 something or 90 degrees. Like it's getting pretty caliente here. Vincent says, I can make desk flags in bulk. Order those. Don't take too long to produce. Hey, very cool. Vincent said, yeah, you should order the desk flags because we could produce it 100%. I'd be curious as to what Vincent's rate is though. Again, sometimes desk flags can be like fairly cheap, but you never know. Vincent might be able to beat the price. So hit him up. You should definitely shop around. Nate says, I added all those notes on the aristocrat board and then multiplied it by 5, the price of a 5-pack. No. The notes are the note number themselves. So you shouldn't multiply it by 5. Divide that by 5. The number that's on there is the amount of individual notes. I already did the 5 thing. It's not like it's multiplied by 5. No, that's 1 to 1. They just purchased them in increments of 5 to get to the number that they were at. Also, thank you guys for liking the video. It means a lot. Tiberius Storm, Emperor Tiberius Storm of the Empire of Calypso said it's okay, the Emperor is here. Hi here too. It's good to see you, Emperor Tiberius. As well, I wanted to say I have been meaning to contact you. The last time um, we talked about composting, and I had some ideas about composting. I've been researching it a little bit. I think you're right as far as the scale. In order to do anything of size, and certainly to sell anything, you would absolutely have to have a license for that, which seems reasonable. Like, we could get it, but it would be expensive and it would be a bit time consuming. There'd be a good bit of investment that we wouldn't be able to afford right now. That being the case, though, we can still do small scale stuff for our own growth, and we could run other businesses that, still use the composting. Like, I think there will still be ways for us to work together and to still develop something of that effect. But I know you're trying to do things on a very large scale. So again, I need to contact you so that we can talk specifically. The last week or so, I've been like pinned down trying to like get a job set up and figured out. I had a call back, but I'm still waiting to try and figure out some stuff. I've been applying like crazy, so definitely let me know when you're available. But I'm gonna have to get back to you as far as when I'm available, because I want to make sure that I like schedule a time that I know I'll be good. So I'm sorry it's taken me some time. I can't access the website. Ooh, dang, I'm sorry. Again, it should be ko-fi.com/AETERNIA. That should be how it is. The Empire of Aeternia, or type in the Empire of Aeternia Ko-fi. It should come up when you Google search it. Reptile Keeper says, AP, could you invite my account on Discord? Every time I click the Discord link, it says expired. Oh, dang, I'm sorry about that. Yes, 100% I can. If you email me, eternianempire@gmail.com, I can send you a link. I'm sorry about that. Like, I'll just send you a personal link, because I feel bad about that. I need to update the link then. Nate says, crap, well, I'll be back. Vincent says, hello, Tiberius Storm. Vincent says, Tiberius says, hi, Vincent. Tiberius says, sounds good. Thanks for hanging out with us, Tiberius. Nate says, well, the real number is $93.40. What? What? How are you getting these numbers? How are you getting these numbers, Nate? There's like over like $1,000, I'm pretty sure, over like $500 certainly, on the Aristocrat board right now. So the real number shouldn't be $93.40. The top person on the Aristocrat board has over $200. Again, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So one note, that number that you see on there, one of those is worth $1. So it's like several hundred, if not like $1,000. Pretty sure it's around $1,000. Reptile says, AP, about how long would you say until people could come and live on your property? Reptile says, BTW, AB, I'm emailing my username now. Thank you very much, Reptile. I appreciate it. I will go back and check after the stream. When can people live on Eternia's property? In the tent. When can people live in the tent? Probably not for at least a few months. So that's like a super short estimate. That's like a, that's like a moonshot. Like, if we were able to get all of our money together all of a sudden and achieve it, like a few months, if we had the money. We don't have the money right now. So potentially like next year type of thing. It'll take a while. The first person that I'm getting settled on that land is my father. So he's the priority right now. The development of the land for him to be able to live and to feel comfortable, so that he can stop paying rent, which will help us save a good bit of money as well, and help us to not have to take care of him as much, would be great to set that up. So as of right now, I would say, probably next year, realistic estimates, because by the end of this summer, or a little bit afterward, we're hoping to get my dad on that land in some way, shape, or form. By October, let's say. We're trying to get him out on that land, so to the 10. So that's going to take some time, and that's going to be the majority of where our effort is currently. But eventually, we will have it set up to where we can do a good bit more. Tiberius says, plus it's divisible by 5, or a multiple by 5. Oh, goodness. I just dropped my whole phone. Sorry about that, everybody. Y'all just did a double backflip. Nate says I'm bad at math. You're all good. I'm trying to figure out what what the thing. I'm gonna just have to go back and look at it later. Tiberius says, or a multiple of 5. Vincent says, I'll be able to start making stuff in 3 weeks or so when I move into my house around June 30th or July 2nd. Very cool, Vincent. I'm excited to see you move in. I wanna be closer to you, which I'm excited about, so we can do more cool stuff together. But also, I know that that's going to be a relief for you because you've been traveling around and waiting for a good long time. Tiberius says, Reptile, you can pitch a tent there now. That's technically true. You could just like come and live there. We wouldn't charge you anything. There's no amenities though. Like you would have to straight up go and like just rough it out there yourself, which we would support you. If there was anyone who straight up went, I'm coming today, I'm going and doing it, I would figure it out. Like we couldn't have you a house there tomorrow, but I would let you stay there. I would try to figure out a way to get you like some kind of more reasonable shelter as quick as possible to keep you out of like storm conditions. I would give you like my personal phone number and be like, hey, like, you know, if there's any problem, like we'll come and get you type of thing off the land because you can't, you know, you can't survive out there if there's like a tornado or whatever. We wouldn't want you to be out there during that period of time. Making sure you have stuff to eat and drink, like that's tough. And I wouldn't ask you to do that on your own completely. But yes, you technically could come out there and pitch a tent. If you did have the ability, you probably want to have a car so that you could get a job down here and, you know, work and develop on your own because like I said, there's not much developed there. So any money you had, you would probably to reconnect, to just reconnect it. The benefit though would be that you would make it your job or whatever. It could go straight toward basically whatever you wanted it to. Probably start like in the next week or two having it. It's definitely difficult. Nate says Tiberius is bad at this type of math. All good. Tiberius says AP is dad a citizen? No, he's not. So that's another big thing. I feel like I tried to explain it to my parents a little bit. My mom, when she was alive, she understood kind of what I was doing. Not fully, but she like supported me in it. My dad, I've tried to explain to him what it is, but more or less to him it's like an internet show. So my dad's not super proficient with the internet to begin with, but he's also not like super concerned with it. He's just like, okay, you do that, whatever. Focus on like other stuff that you need to do. But I definitely am. I'm having to like try and use my degree as quick as possible. But 100%, my dad, I wouldn't want to call him a citizen because it wouldn't be fair to him. He doesn't know enough about it to be reasonably and appropriately a citizen. I'm not going to ask him to become a citizen because he doesn't, again, know enough about it. Like we've sat down and talked about it, but the concept just doesn't connect with him. So I don't feel like that would be fair to him. But I will always love him. He will always be my father, and I will always cherish him as a big part of Eternia to me, because he helped to create what eventually helped to develop into Eternia. All my hopes and dreams for Eternia are built off of his hard work and his effort and his dreams to some extent. So I think I'm really, really proud to have him as my father, and he is very much symbolically a part of Eternia, even if he's not some. Maybe a few towers like Trump, JK. Hey, no, I definitely appreciate it. If you wanted to come to Eternia and support us, we don't sell our land, so you would never be able to own a piece of Eternia land. But you could come here and work 100%, again, for free. You could live on the land for free, so you could save your money to invest in whatever else you wanted to. As long as you maintain an Eternian citizenship, you have a guaranteed right to a place to live, or at very least to land to be able to live on. You just won't own that land. And that's how it'll be in Eternia probably forever. I'll always be the owner of the land that Eternia has. That way, there can be no revolt, there can be no, division of the land, there can be no selling of our land. It's always going to be directly mine. Tiberius says, the great Eternian father. Yeah, absolutely. He is the great Eternian father. Vincent said, would there be housing taxes when people live on the land, or would you say not at the current moment? That's a great question, Vincent. Not at the current moment. Again, we're trying to have people live there for free. So, again, what we would probably do is not take taxes out of people's housing. unless they wanted like very lavish housing. You know what I mean? Like we'll probably not have any taxes as of right now because the Eternian dwellings will be very, very basic. As they start to upgrade and get more advanced, we'll probably have taxes for expanding that and making it better and making it, more luxurious. But even then, I think it'd be very minimal, if any at all. A lot of the purpose of Eternia is to provide a place so that even if you have no money at all, even if you have no ability to support yourself or your family, that you have somewhere to go, that you can be taken care of, that you have a way to grow and a society. I mean, like if we're helping you, your flag making business and your sewing business and stuff, your textiles business, we are promoting that. So we're saying, hey, everybody come and purchase stuff from Vincent's textiles company, which is an Eternian business. And so if you're supporting Vincent, you're supporting us. And what that means is then, Vincent, you can go ahead and start taking orders from these from these nations or from these individuals, and then we would just have a tax on it. That would be part of being an Eternian business, where we would say, hey, you pay a certain amount a month just to be an Eternian business for the advertising, for the promotion, and then from every sale that you make, there's a certain amount of stuff that we tax for that. It would be the same thing for people who work under us directly. So people who work directly for the government or people who work and are employed by Eternian businesses would have some sort of small tax on their income that would be taken out to help promote government programs, just like other income taxes would. We'll probably also have, again, that sales tax like we had in describing the Eternian businesses. So there will be sales tax, there will be income tax, there probably will not be a housing tax because you don't own the land, so we're not going to tax the land that you're on. That's government controlled, and you aren't able to really build your own house. We would help you to design and build the housing that you want there. To a certain extent, we have a kind of basic model that we would want to set out, but that could be expanded and developed as somebody wanted. If you wanted something really luxurious that wasn't like a basic thing that you do and you wanted something custom, like if we had very lavish, you know what I mean, our aristocrats. If our aristocrats are like, yeah, I want like a fancy whatever, this and that, then we may eventually say, okay, this is a special circumstance. We are going to create some kind of housing tax associated with that, or even some sort of like base rent price or something for something that's really lavish. Manu says hi. Manu says left school early today. Good to see you, Manu. But so that way we can build more houses and provide more free support for the people who are doing that. Why would we invest a ton of money and labor into really expensive housing for our aristocrats and then not charge them something to have that to support our standard citizens? Good to see that you enjoyed school, Manu. I hope you're doing well. Reptile says, how many acres did you get, by the way? 3.5, 3.5 acres is what the tail is. Tiberius says, Vincent is leaving my area because it's a half degree cooler in Eternia. 96 versus 95 and a half. Yes, and it is blazing hot. I will say right here, just chilling in our little shed here, no AC, it's very hot. So I will probably be dippity dip, strip, dipping in a minute. Connor Henderson says, hey, yes, I'm on my way to southern Alabama. Hey, very cool. We used to have a territory in southern Alabama. I actually need to update it because we no longer have a territory in southern Alabama, but we did. We now officially own land in northern Alabama, so upgrades and expansion. Are you going to, what part of southern Alabama, Connor? Manu says, left school early today for a special occasion. Hey, congrats. What's the special occasion? Birthday? Happy birthday, Manu, maybe? What's up? Vincent says, some kid says I'm running away to Eternia. Bring a tent and Scooby snacks with their Spider-Man toy. Oh, man, I would feel devastated. Don't do that. Don't run away from home to join Eternia. That's not a good look. It's definitely not a good look for us. It's not a good look for you either. But if you have a car and ability to work, because we don't have jobs for people immediately, you're more than welcome to come over and stay here. However, again, you would need a way to support yourself. We don't have, which right now is 96 degrees almost. So you definitely wouldn't want to be out super long dealing with stuff like that. But it'll probably take by the time my dad gets out there, everything fully furnished and ready for other citizens to come out. And that'll be not to mention having the dwellings developed. I'm going to be staying in an eternity. My dad's going to be staying in like a traditional modern house because he's an older person and needs he has specific like needs that he requires in order to be safe and stable. But I'm going to be living in an Eternian dwelling. Like I'm going to be building an Eternian dwelling on the land, underground, and living in that for a good amount of time. So as we continue to develop, you guys will get to see that. We'll build my dwelling, and hopefully Tiffany will stay in that dwelling with me for some period of time. We will, once I can get it comfortable enough and nice enough, I'll then be starting to create more dwellings. So first my dad's house, alongside our dwelling. Those are kind of getting built at the same time. And then other dwellings along with that. Vincent, Tiberius said, Vincent, LOL. I appreciate Vincent. Vincent's got the solid meme. This is why people like you in the chat, Vincent. We need more Vincent streams for the Scooby-Doo snack memes. Come on, Vincent. We miss you. Reptile Keeper says, the offer sounds good, but unfortunately I'm not an adult. Fair enough, fair enough. One day maybe. Vincent says, Vitae is in northern Alabama, Pinson, if I recall. That's correct. I will say, you spelled Vitae wrong. It's Vitae. You got the E and the A switched around. But very close. Vitae is Latin for life. Or like life force. Or like living. Reptile Keeper says, don't give me ideas. Oh, goodness. Connor says, I mean southern Alabama. Southern is AP's house. No, we're northern Alabama. We used to have a southern territory, but we no longer have a southern territory. My dad ended up having health complications. I think it's Vitae. That's correct, Nate. Good luck. Reptile says, wait, I thought AP moved to northern Alabama. That is correct. You're correct, Reptiles. Points for being correct. You win the Aeternia show. Na, 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 na. Reptile Keepers dropping the facts. Also, Nate dropping the facts, who hates my singing, so now I'm going to stop singing because he won. Vincent says, I can't always remember how to spell it. Eternian territory. It's not fully a city yet, but coming there. Vincent says, it's like a town in Alabama outside Birmingham. Very true. Nate says, so is Eternia, so Eternia is like a commune? You would, sometimes you do. It depends on the type of commune, it depends on what the people there want. But as well, communes have other traits that Eternia doesn't have. For example, communes share their resources. So people work in a commune, for example, they'll do agriculture and other stuff, and they'll put everything together, and then they will use that to pool their resources together for mutual benefit. So everybody puts together all the work that they do, they all get a bowl of soup at the end of the day, they all get a certain amount of money from the things that they sell, they split it up pretty evenly. That's not exactly how Eternia works. We are fairly socialist, so we want to establish things that do assist our base standard of living. So we do offer things like free housing. Eventually, once we can afford it, we want to offer like free food and a place to go and live, a place to stay for free. But that being the case, if you earn money in Eternia, that money isn't then spread out amongst other people. We don't take like all of your money and give you back a portion of it. You have your money, we may tax a percentage of it and then use that toward government stuff, but I own the land in Eternia. That's certainly very not commune. I also, control Eternia very much like a business, so in the sense that, there will be people who work for us and develop things for us, specifically for us to make a profit, which is, again, not a super commune thing. It is a community. It is an intentional community, but not necessarily a commune. Vincent said, not really, it's a developing area. Agreed. I would akin it more to like a small village, Reptile Keeper says, Vincent, long way for me to run away to. Makes sense. Connor says, Cotter Meneslin might sell land. Good luck. Reptile says, let me go get my Scooby stacks. No, Reptiles. Vincent says, don't forget your Spider-Man toy. Agreed, who will keep you company? Reptile says, LOL. Nate says, I'm thinking for a university name for Eternia, either Vitae University or Eternia State. Eternia State sounds like it's like a community college. Vitae University sounds better. But Vitae University sounds like Phoenix Online University or whatever. Like, I don't know, for some reason all these names make me feel like they're community colleges or like online internet colleges, which makes me sus of my own colleges. So like, Vitae University might work. I kind of like Vitae University or University of Vitae. I feel like University of Vitae works harder, but goes harder. But we'll see about it. As of right now, we don't have any university or anything like that. If we did, we would want to be like accredited in the U.S. We'd want to have like official accreditation for it to be a place that like students can go to and use like federal funding to go to. Like we would want to hit it up nice. Reptile says, don't be surprised though if you see a tint on the Eternia property. Reptile, you gotta let me know, man. I can't let you die out there, man. You gotta let us know. It's like almost 100 degrees. Nate says it's gonna be 94 degrees tomorrow in Michigan. Oh goodness. Connor says Connor Manisland is colder than the US. Oh goodness, be careful. Tiberius says harboring miners. Mwahaha. No, that's what we're not trying to do. Connor Hedner says it's 99 degrees in Iowa. Oh goodness. Good luck, Connor. Why is it hotter in there than it is here? I guess maybe humidity, but still. Vincent says Tiberius sounds like an FBI warrant waiting to happen. Agreed. We should not do that. Tiberius says I harbor my inner child only. Oh goodness. And your doggos, which are your fur babies. Don't forget them. Tiberius. Emperor Storm. Manu says, we're watching my Micronation wipe the floor with New Zealand. Hey, very cool. Y'all watching FIFAs? I know it's not FIFA, it's just soccer or football, but still I'm going to call it FIFAs. Reptile Keeper says, AP, can you give me a pin on your property? Totally not to run away to it, though. I cannot, and I will not. We still have stuff to set up for, like, security measures before we're even going to put out the, like, mailbox and stuff. But we're getting it. Connor says, a socialist monarchy with aristocrats? Never heard of it. Welcome to the first one. No. We're trying it out. Vincent says Eternian chicken soup. You know it. And Eternian BLEs. Bacon, lettuce, egg is delicious. Put it in your stomach. Connor Hedner says with a free market. Some free market, some command economy. It's a mixed economy, I'd say, Connor. Tiberius says, call it more of a future compound than a commune. Oh my goodness, but then you make me sound like Pablo Escobar. Oh goodness, got it. Yeah, but it's weird because right now we support the will of the people, but we're not exactly democratic. Like, you can't vote on stuff. So it's weird because we do support democracy and we want to have like freedom of speech, but we also aren't officially democratic. Nate says, Connor, Eternianism is its own league. Hey, I appreciate it. Eternianism. We got to start it. We got to get more Eternianist nations. Raspberry says, hey, I'm back. Hey, Raspberry, we missed you. Raz said, I'm surprised the stream's still going on because we're getting those watch time hours. You guys, we've been hanging out for like 3 hours, 20 minutes. If we have 17 viewers that entire time, that's 7, 14, 21. If we stayed to 4, that'd be 28, almost 30 watch time hours. If we can get that and keep it, and do that every single day, we would have watch time in no time. Y'all hear what I'm saying? We almost had 3,500 watch time hours. We were at 34.99 the other day, and then it dropped down to 34.60 something, like quick, and then like the next day. And then I had to wait a day and I couldn't stream again. Now it's down to 34.44. So we're trying to get it back up to that 3,500, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. We need 60 more watch time hours, but you guys can help with that. Right now, if we got like 30 watch time hours today, plus if we got like 30 watch time hours tomorrow, we would have enough. We would like kill the game and then some. So you guys can make that happen. You guys can help the dream come true if we only keep blowing up the streams. Let's see. Tiberius says, AP Community College, you're not going to call me now, are you? Oh, goodness. No, I have to, though. Because if it's a community college, we got to make it for the community. We got to make it for the people, man. For the composters, man. We got to get it. Raz says it's been like 3 hours. 3 hours of watch time, and you guys have been sitting here, feel scammed, feel played right now. I stole your views. I stole your watch time. There's nothing additional watch time hours so that we can finally hit monetization and get a little bit of money, because that would help us so much to do all the stuff that we're trying to do. Tiberius says, my dogs are awesome. I know your dogs are awesome, Tiberius. I have seen their cute puppy faces in your videos. They're adorable. Nate says, yeah, but APCC isn't the best acronym. Agreed. I don't think it should be a community college. I think, oh goodness. University of Vitae would be really solid if we could get it big enough. Raspberry says, Reptile, you still here? Reptile says, yep. Reptile says, Raz said, how'd the meeting go? Reptile says, we fired Councilman 3. I put the meeting transcript on my micro wiki if you want to read it. Raz said, yeah, I'll read it. Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Also, we had 9 viewers for a second. That's the hypeness. That'll help us to jump up in watch time hours really quick, actually. Vincent says, AP, I have a street lamp at the back of my house. I was thinking I could donate it to the land as we are going to get a new one. Yes, please. Yes, please. If you can bring a street lamp, that would be awesome. I would love that. We would hook it up. We'd have it powered. We're trying to get electricity from the city there right now. That's going to take some money and some time. But if we can get our driveway set up, electricity's next is our big plan for the land. We, of course, are going to have solar set up pretty quickly. That's going to be for like emergency use only. It's very small. Right now, we can only generate about 24 watts a second, which is still a good amount, but it's not a ton. And that's during peak hours. So 28 watts a second, excuse me, during peak hours. So we're really going to want to try and like get that electricity from the local government there. But once we do that, we'll be able to run that street lamp easy game. So yes, 100%. And it'll make us look more professional. And it'll help with security. Reptile says it was not that long, maybe like 2 to 4 minutes of talking. And you went, I'm kicking them out. That's exactly how that meeting goes. I know it. You say, you're traitor, get out. Get out right now. I know that's how that went. Nate says, AP, just stream 4 hours every day or every other day for a month. You should be good. That's the hope. That's the hope. Right now we're at 3 hours, 30 minutes. If we hit 4 hours, we probably would just do it and be good. Connor says, Squidward Community College? Oh, gross. Oh, you're going to play clarinet? Is that what you're going to do? Tiberius said, Vincent captured some lighting bugs until you get power there. Agreed. That's what we got to do. Connor says, Aeternia should be off-grid and not rely on the U.S. 100%. So that's something that we're trying to do, right? We have like this solar. Have you checked out our video on solar power? We're doing more videos on solar power coming up. But that's a big part of it, is taking our currently established solar power that we have. We have a like full solar system set up. The only thing we don't have yet is an inverter, which we're gonna make our own for like simple emergency purposes. But to do like more complex stuff, we're gonna need to like purchase an inverter, because pure sine wave inverters are hard to make. And they can damage your electronics if they're not done properly. So we're going to have to develop a pure sine wave inverter, or more so purchase a pure sine wave inverter. But then as we do that, that'll make stacking up our stuff real easy. And yeah, we can do that 100%. Right now, again, we're fairly self-sufficient, but we're going to increase the percentage of our self-sufficiency and then eventually get 100%. So that's the hope. Right now, we're probably like 2%, like maybe 2%, less than 2% more than likely. Raz says, well, it went about as well as the British Parliament meeting. Oh goodness, Raz, roasting it. Tiberius says, more off-grid than you know. Agreed, we are more off-grid than you know already. Raz says, the meeting. Vincent says, Tiberius, yes, a jar full of lightning bugs, best and most efficient lights. Everyone knows that. That's common sense. Nate says, we do have a ton of lightning bugs here, though, actually. We could probably do that. Like, we grab a ton of lightning bugs, shove them in a jar, and be like, Aeternian lamp. We could probably do that. Nate says, university, our national animal is already the eagle. Eagles are, eagle. Why am I saying eagle? Owl. Owl. Our national animal is the owl. I'm stroking out because of the heat, guys. Guys, y'all are lucky I'm staying 30 more minutes because I love y'all, and also watch time hours. Our national animal is the owl. Owls are already associated with wisdom and education. It would make sense. The only thing is, we can't be considered like the University of Purdue or whatever, Purdue University or whatever, gross owls, online education head ass. Um, um, Connor says you should dig a lake in Eternia and that can generate power. Only if you can build a dam for it. But if you build a lake and then you dam the lake and then you have it run off, which we could do, then you have to rely on rainfall to refill your lake, and that's just a slow process. There's like other stuff that we could do that would be a lot more efficient use of the land, like solar and wind, which we're already going to be doing. But yes, if we ever get to a place where we have a constantly running river or stream, we would probably dam it to create water power, hydropower. Vincent says raspberry, and then put a skull. Yep, we love Raz. Reptile says University of LOLXD 420. That's oh goodness. That's Greenistan's university, I bet, isn't it, rough side? Vincent retracted his message. Vincent, we miss you. Why'd you retract? What you not telling us? Nate says, just AP, look up how to install a solar panel just to be safe. Nate. I know how to install solar panels, Nate. Y'all are seeing my boogies. But Nate, I know these things. I already know these things. I have like electrical engineering education. I didn't graduate with an electrical engineering degree, don't think that. But I did take a number of electrical engineering courses, as well as electronics-based physics courses that taught me about like the physics and fundamental like physics of electronics and stuff. I know how solar panels work. Put together a whole system already. I'm already creating inverters. I got you, boy. I know how to do solar panels. Vincent says Vitae Academic Academy, but I do appreciate you. Safety is always number one, and it's always important. Vincent says Vitae Academic Academy, VAA. Oh goodness. You could call it Eternian Academic Academy, and then it'd be AAA, like the auto insurance. Stamaria says of academia. Oh goodness. Nate says Vincent, that should be the name of the schooling K through 8 name. I appreciate it. Like kids school, agree. Primary school, as they call it. Raz says I was gonna make my national bird an owl. Very cool, Raz. Fist bump for owls. Owls are dog. Owls are dog. Owls are dope. Connor says dig a well in Eternia. That's what we have to do actually to get water. But the problem is you can't dig a well legally in Alabama without being certified to do so. So we have to hire someone to dig a well. The certification process is like really long and hard, and you have to have like experience as a professional well digger hired by like another company for like 5 years or something before you can get certified in it. So yeah, there's no way that we can like do it ourselves. We have to hire somebody. I don't know why well, I do know why the laws are like that, because somebody probably tries to dig their own well and like poisons themselves doing it. So I get it, but like yes, we are gonna dig a well in Eternia. That's one of our like. It's not our first thing. It goes. We need the oh goodness. We need the culvert on the land. That's so that we can get our driveway properly finished and established and have it legally connected to the road. Then we're going to have our, oh goodness, my voice is going numb. My throat's going numb, my voice is going. Then we're going to have our, electricity set up through the city. And then we're going to have the well introduced. But the well is going to be thousands of dollars to put in. So, well, not now. Well, later. Well, in the future. Vincent said the Vitae Schoolhouse. Schoolhouse rock. Vitae house rock. Excuse me. That was probably a fun screenshot for anybody who wants it. Raz says, what are we talking about? Nate says, no. Reptile says, I just got roasted by AP. Reptile, I believe in you. Tiberius says, we talking about boogies? Raspberry says, boogies? Tiberius says, and the fundamentals of electronics. And belief in yourself, Tiberius. Nate says, no schoolhouse. This isn't the 1920s. Hopefully not. A lot of racism in the 1920s. We want to be better. Connor says, make a town square in Vitae. I want to, and I want to put it around the Garden of Nations. Like, I think that would be really cool to have the Garden of Nations as kind of a center point, so that, like, when you walk into the center of the tank, you walk around the Garden of Nations, and it's like a roundabout where you can go to different sections, and that would be where a, like, sign to point you in different directions is. I think that'd be really cool. Vincent says, Tiberius, you picking winners and Tiberius says he said picking, lol. Reptile says, AP, if you had a university, then you would have to get a high school, middle school, and elementary school? No, you wouldn't have to. You could just get other people to go to school like in the US for those things, and then you could just have the university. I think establishing a university is a lot less paperwork than establishing like a middle school or elementary school or whatever. And probably cheaper, even though it wouldn't be that great. Like, agreed, logically, you would have all of those things, but it's not necessary. Connor Hedner says, but Aeternia isn't a part of Alabama, so technically, yeah, but you want to make them accredited. You don't just want to be like, oh, we a bunch of kids sitting in a room playing with crayons. School. Tiberius says, listen to Boogie Nights. Oh, goodness. Reptile Keeper says, AP, you should just dig a well, and when they say it's illegal, just say it's not a well, it's a big hole with water in it that we drink. That's a great way to poison yourself, though. Like, they do have to come and do, like, soil samples and, like, water samples and stuff before you do that. Also, wells get incredibly dirty. Like, the problem would be, for a modern well, you have to do a lot and install, like, pumps and filtering systems and stuff like that. If we just dug a well ourselves and just, like, tried to pull water out, it wouldn't be clean. Most of the time it'd be like really gross. We even talked to our neighbors and they were like, yeah, before we got like specialty pumps and stuff installed, our water always came out really gross and nasty. So we had to like get it pumped and flushed and like filtered properly to work now. So yeah, we're gonna have to do a lot for it. It's gonna be expensive. Raz says, Micronations still have to follow the laws of the state in the US, Connor. Very true. Raz says, well, that's for you. Agreed. Nate says, AP has the COVID. I do not. I got vaccinated. Both vaccines. Double vaxxed up. Vaccinations are important. I did get COVID at one point. I did. It was like a whole thing. I went through it. It was rough. Don't want it again. Good news is it wasn't as rough as it would have been if I wasn't vaccinated, but still, wasn't good. Tiberius Storm says, nah, just boogie issues. Agreed. Reptile says, loophole is not just a, it's not a well, just a hole with water. Everybody's memeing. Connor says, T-Man, I know LOL is joking. Tiberius retracted his message. Tiberius, where are you going? Vincent said, Tiberius, have you listened to the song I Only Have Eyes for You by the Flamingos? Good song. Makes sense. Raz says, I have well water where I am. Congrats. That's what we're going to have to do. Reptile says, funny thing is I have a well in my nation. Hey, very nice. Well, look what we have here. Connor says it would be good if a natural spring popped up in Aeternia. I would love it. We're on the side of a mountain, so it'd be probably unlikely, but still very cool. Tiberius said, add Vincent. Yes. Raz says it takes a lot to maintain a well. You don't want to be there to be too much iron in the water. Agreed. You could poison your people. Vincent says it's such a pretty love song. Reptile says, I'm going to make myself some dino nuggies. Hey, very cool. I'm about to go make myself some lunch as well. Nate says, you should play the anthem on the land for the first time. A moment in history. Agreed. We did the, like... I thought somebody was coming up. We already did the, like, I stood and posed with the axe in my hand. I'm actually about to put out for our second video for the land development, which you guys will see soon. It features Ryan. We're going to have the very first fire pit lighting for Aeternia. So for those of you both on the stream and watching afterward who make it to this point, first off, congratulations. You're 3.5 hours through a 4-hour stream. Incredible. And you're getting a sneak peek to know that on our second land development video, we are going to have the first lighting of our fire pit. If you follow us on TikTok, which I bet you don't, you didn't even know we had a TikTok, but we posted that video like a couple weeks ago of us just doing the fire pit, not the whole second land development video, but of the fire pit itself. Raz says, I struggle with making anthems. We actually used a song for our anthem. Vincent says, Tiberius, do you listen to the Platters? Raz says, I always dislike what it sounds like. I believe in you, Raz. Tiberius says, not recently. I used to cover them in a band. Hey, very cool. Nate says, I saw it on your TikTok. Hey, thank you, Nate. I appreciate it. Someone follows our TikTok. Connor Hedner says, Connor Minnesland has natural hot springs in the Colorado territory. Give us some hot springs. I want some hot springs. We could take a shower in the hot springs. I could drink from the hot springs if you put some ice in it. Bathe in the hot springs. I love hot tubs. That's a big thing for me. I love hot tubs. Hot tubs are fun. So yeah, once we get all the like important survival stuff out of the way for Eternia, I'm gonna probably put a hot tub just for fun because I like hot tubs. But I don't know if I will. If I did, it'd probably be like a bougie, like secret hot tub for the Emperor, which would be the one like luxury I keep for myself. I'm down with not living a super luxurious life, but if I ever had a hot tub, just because I like don't like a whole bunch of people, being in my bathwater, I probably wouldn't let a ton of people use the hot tub. I might let a couple people on occasion. But it'd be limited. That'd be my one, emperor's privilege kind of abuse of power thing. Would be I'd have a hot tub, maybe. Nate says, also make a flagpole to rise in the Eternian flag to know when you're on the land. I would like that, yes. If we could install the flagpole and then put the flag up just whenever we're out, and then when we leave, put it back down and leave, that would be awesome. I would love to do that. Tiberius says, I've written and recorded anthems. They were for my nephew's micros way back when. Very cool. Connor Hedner says, wouldn't drink it. Fair enough. Probably pretty poison. Raz says, I remember you saying that you could use those hot springs for clean energy. Iceland uses their springs for clean energy. Agreed. Connor says, sulfur in the water. Oh, that's perfect. Get the sulfur, evaporate the water, keep the sulfur in there, sell the sulfur. Reptile says, AP, could you leave a plot of land for me? I'll come down to you guys one day. Yes, 100%. If you actually want to come, there will be space for you one day. Just let us know. And hopefully by that time, we'll have expanded. So, if it's a few years down the road, we may have another territory, and you can take your pick between which one you want to live in. Vitae will probably be more developed. The new territory may have, bigger stuff getting built. Depends on what you want. Connor says, hydrogen sulfide. Perfect. Tasty. Raz says, if there wasn't minerals in water, you would be dead. Fair enough. Vincent says, I love the platters and the ink spots a lot. Very nice. Also, thank you guys for 10 viewers. It means a lot if you like the video. Helps us to grow. Also, we're trying to stay till 4 hours. We're at 3 hours and 40 minutes. So if you guys, all 10 of you, stayed until 4 hours for 20 more minutes, we would hit a huge watch time record. We're trying to get all the way back up to 3,500 watch time hours. We're probably not going to make that today, but even 7 viewers at 4 hours, 7, 14, 21, 28, we'd hit almost 30 out of the 60 watch time hours we need to get back up there and climb the mountain to 3,500 watch time. Raz says, but I think sulfur is poisonous. Agree. Tiberius says, how much would you guys pay for custom anthems? I'd kick some back to Eternia for a finder's fee. Hey, very cool. I appreciate it. Connor says there are normal natural springs near Connor Minceland. Connor says we would claim them and get fresh water. Tiberius says, Vincent, I don't listen to any of that anymore since my dad passed away. It was his thing and hard for me to listen to. I'm sorry to hear, Tiberius, but I do appreciate you sharing that with us. You should definitely listen to it in his honor every once in a while, even though I imagine that would be tough. It makes sense if it's just it was only a me and him thing. We shared that, and now it's not to be played again. I respect that. When they retire a team's jersey, or retire a player's jersey when they leave or when they pass, a similar thing. They retired Kobe's jersey and stuff. You should. I understand retiring that song. It makes sense. Raz said, I'm sorry to hear your father died. Agreed. I'm sorry about that. Reptile says, AP, would you be fine if I just parked my truck there and lived in it? Yes. So, eventually, no. Eventually we would want you to actually, have a dwelling. We would build you a place to live. But for the time being, yes, we would do that. That'd be fine. Nate says, any ideas for a design for your palace/capital? That's a great question. So I'm probably just going to live in a dwelling, just like everybody else. I'm not going to have anything fancy. Right now, Eternia needs to grow and become stable in what it is and make a lot of money before I would do anything lavish for myself. Like I said, the most lavish thing I might do is one day invest in like a hot tub. But more so, I want Eternia to advance. So maybe their kids will live in a palace. But I don't think a palace is most important for me. I think I should be trying to spend all of my money on like making Eternia a good place to live and a place that other people tell people about, a place that can legitimately vie for its independence. That's where I want my money to go, over a capital, or over a palace, I should say. Vitae is the capital of Eternia. If you check on our micro wiki, you'll see Vitae is the capital of Eternia, which is our land purchase. Manu says official negotiations will take place in the Imperial Hot Tub. Agreed. We'll invite guests. They'll sit. They'll soak. They'll debate. That'd be kind of a cool thing for a micronational YouTube channel. Micronational debates with the leaders of 2 micronations. How long can you sit in the hot tub as we slowly crank the temperature up to boil you until you either rescind your debate or have to get out for fear of burns? That's how you lose the debate, is if you get out of the hot tub. Connor Hedner says, sorry to hear that, Tiberius. Rip. Nate says, what kind of truck, Reptile? Raz says, I like older songs, mostly from the 1960s to 80s. Nate says, rip. Vincent says, me too, but that's because what I was raised hearing as a kid. Makes sense. Raz says, wait, so in your land, you hope to have permanent residence? Yes, Raz, that's the point. We're trying to establish permanent residence today, like right now. We don't have a ton of place for them to live as of right now. That's something that we're still having to develop, but 100%, we want permanent residence. Go back and watch our live stream, Who Wants to Live in Eternia? We did a live stream that was all about that, saying we're trying to get people to come and live here. Here are the things we're trying to do in order to get them to live here. If you go and check out that video as well later on, it would help us out with watch time. That would mean a lot. Raz says, I just don't like a lot of newer songs. Vincent says, I don't listen to modern music. I just don't really care to listen to it. Makes sense. Connor says, there's running water in Brookside territory. It's a gorge. Very cool. Torrance says, Micronation hot tub discussion actually isn't a bad idea. I appreciate it. I think it'd be funny. You could kill people's ability to have children by like boiling their sperm alive, but you never know. You never know. Connor Henry said, with a stream. I agree. Reptile says, sorry, Nate, was looking at my dino nuggies. Reptile Keeper says it would probably be an F-150 or something like that. Very cool. I like it. I'm excited for it. Nate says, LOL, that's alright, Reptile. And Nate says, nice. Also, if you get an F-150 or some other truck, you can get like the covered beds for them that make it into like a long thing. There's like a metal actual bed for it. So you could like have the front where you drive and stuff and store your things, and then in the back you could literally put like a mattress and like sleep in there and make it like a thing for you. That'd be really cool. Manu says officials will still use formal wear even inside the hot tub. Yes, yes, you're thinking on the right track, Manu. Yes, you sit in there full outfit on and just deal with it. You just gotta struggle. Raz says, same. I hope with my business to get enough money to buy some large property in the south and north of the U.S. Very cool, Raspberry. I'm excited to see it. Reptile says, LOL. Nate says, AP, I'll start a bed and breakfast place with one in Eternia and another one in Slowjamistan. I'd love to see it. Make Eternia's first. Don't go to Slowjamistan first. Go to us first. Make it happen. We need it in Eternia. Connor says, make an airstrip in Eternia. Raspberry says, is Dino Nuggies the official dish of Greenistan? It certainly seems like it could be. Also, 15 more minutes. Let's get the watch time hours up. 15 more minutes. Also, we have 8 viewers. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. If we can get it up to 10, that'd be great. It wouldn't be a sin. It'd be pretty dope. Vincent said, AP, will we have an area of Vitae where shop stalls will be, or what are your plans for that kind of development? 100%. So we have online what's called the Imperial Market, which is our Etsy shop where people can go and purchase goods from us. We hope to extend that into the territory that we own in Vitae. So literally having an Imperial Market, a market full of shops, probably around the town center where the Micronations would be, that would actually be a hub for different stalls, for different shops. So for the time being, what it would probably start out as is us hosting like a monthly or bi-yearly or something, Imperial Market, where we just like host it as a big event. That should be one of the first things we do on the land, is actually like try and get as many people from the local area to come to the land and to try and purchase from our Imperial Market. From there, we could, as popularity for it increases, start doing it more and more frequently. But we have to expand our driveway because we can't have 30 people come and park on the land right now. Connor says, make a subcritical nuclear reactor. Oh, goodness. Raz says, what is Vitae? Vitae is our land purchase. We purchased it a few months ago. It is ours. We legally own it in the state of Alabama. It is a 3.5 acre territory of undeveloped land that we are developing for use to have permanent residence on. As well, Vitae means life or living in Latin. Connor says, make an atomic bomb, Vitae, and have a treasure hunt to find it. That's so dark, Connor. No, we're not doing that. Vincent said, could I have a stall? Yes, 100%. We would probably rent them because, again, we probably do it on it'd probably be like a big event at first so that we could like drive attraction to it. And then as it would go over time, we'd have more and more attraction to where eventually if we had people showing up every day for the stalls, we would have the stalls open every day. But if not, there's no reason to keep the stalls open every day if we're going to have like maybe a visitor. So we should instead try and make it like big events and do it like every once in a while and have like rare Eternian items out. But yes, when you do, we could definitely run a stall to you. Torrent says, AP, open your markets to Kingmanian investment. We're opening this right now to Kingmanian investment. If you want to invest in our micronation, you can do that. You can start a business in our micronation that we will promote if you sign up for an Eternian business license. It's like $15 a month. We will definitely do it, and we would even advertise you on our YouTube channel. Raz says, why not just a nuclear reactor? Connor says, then the prize is getting to have your land be unusable and multiple people be roasted. Reptile says, maybe, but a summer home. Maybe I'll put a summer home on the land. Nope, we don't do that. Like I said, you can't build your own house. You have to like be a citizen of Eternia, and if you want to be a resident in Eternia, you have to like live there. Like that needs to be your primary residence. Would be the whole thing. So like, if you wanted to come and stay, you'd have to like come and live there. Like you couldn't like, because we need the land. It's only 3.5 acres. We probably will only have like between like 5 and 10 citizens, like max. So, like 5, maybe 10 houses at max. That'd be really a lot of houses to try and cram in there. Maybe like 5 houses. Like we might have like 5 or 6 houses on the land. And even then, that's something where like, that's taking up almost all of the land. So if we were going to do that, we need that space for people who are going to stay and live and work there every single day. We can't have people there who are just like, have their land like occupied for most of the time until like the summer. That wouldn't be cool. Vincent says, we went over nuclear reactors in a past stream. Agreed. Connor says, population control. Dark, Connor. Terrence says, all of you should open your markets to Kingmanian investments. What does that mean though? Like, are you giving us money? Give us money, Connor Torrance. Nate says, TBH, I'll start a business idea. After first secure some funds, then you tell me in a few years when the business necessities are in Eternia. Tell me about it now, and then we'll talk about it. Raz says, oh, I never saw the Vitae video. So is your only territory Vitae? And did you say it was 4.5 acres? 3.5 acres. And yes, check out the Vitae video. We have our first land development video that's done right now. Like, go back and look on our channel. Our last edited video is our land development. Our first day of like going out on the land and like working on it. I gave us a speech. I did a whole thing. It was cool. Reptile says, I think 3.5. Connor says, will you put up a wall so people don't leave? Like, we're going to open it up. Other than that, yeah, we'll probably have like stuff to protect our citizens, like gates. Raz says, I thought I was smaller than Eternia. My territory is over 4.7 acres. Congrats. Do you own it personally? Reptile says, could you make an area where visitors can stay, like maybe a day then? Also, I don't know if I could be there all the time, but for me, that's still way away from the date. Agreed. And that's perfectly fine. Again, I don't think Eternian residency is going to be for everybody. Yes, 100%. We will have something that's effectively like a hotel where people can come and visit and like pay to stay the night in Vitae. Especially we'll need that because one day I'd hope to host something similar to MicroCon, so we could have like places for people to actually come to our territory and stay and participate in the events. Vincent says we have a dark storm clouds, storms are brewing. Agreed. I see it's getting darker and lighter outside. 8 more minutes. Get your likes in, get your comments in. Raz says Connor's starting to sound authoritarian. Oh goodness. Tiberius says AP, thank you for your comments about my dad. I'm sorry I was on the phone at the time. I'm good, but some things still touch me as things touch you. Makes sense. I definitely respect that. Raz says, is it just me or is it loading for others too? The video. Tiberius says, I'm sorry I need to go. I have company coming over for coffee. Tiberius says it's lagging. I'm sorry it's lagging, guys. Let me know if it keeps up. Also, thank you for coming. Tiberius, it means a lot. Connor says, shh, we don't talk about my plan to set up a dictatorship in Connor, Minnesota. Oh, goodness. Connor, no. Torrance says, yes, I invest in tourism. What does that mean, though? What if you invest in tourism? Come visit. Come visit Vitae. You can tour. Reptile says, don't worry, AP, I'll just find a corner to put my truck and maybe a camper van. Very cool. But that would be the thing. You couldn't leave it there unless you live there. So you'd have to when you leave, pack it up and take it with you. Raz says, and to answer AP's question, I live in 4.7 acres, capital district, and there are 7 others where my citizens live. Very cool. Congrats. But do you own it? Do you personally is the deed of the property in your name, or is it in a parent or guardian's name? Vincent says it's only 2 in the afternoon and it's about as dark as it would be at 9 at night. Oh gosh, it's not that dark here. Interesting. Good luck, Vincent. That sucks. White Wind says, I'm only 3 hours late, but it's still good to have you, White Wind. Please like the video. It helps us out. Thank you very much. You should go back and watch the beginning of the stream later. It's almost 4 hours late because we're about to end the stream once it hits 4 hours. But you should definitely like the video and go back and watch the beginning for us later because we talked all about how micronations get sick and suffer and die and how to fix that and what the antidote is, what the cure is. By the way, it's stability, but still. Very cool. Torrance says, I'm encouraging you to invest in tourism. Micronationalism has a lot of tourism potential. But you said invest in, you said support, you said you want Kingmanian investment, which makes it sound like you're going to put money into other micronational projects. So let us know what money you want to put into our project. We're already investing in tourism and stuff, of course. Connor says, I have to go. Bye, everyone. Bye, Connor. It was good to see you. Thank you for hanging out. Aeternia forever, Connor. Reptile says, hey, EP, there might be some storms later in the day, so just be advised. Thank you, Reptiles. I appreciate it. Micronationalists, for some reason, are big on the weather. I do appreciate it. It's important, especially for crop fields and stuff. But we're trying. We're gonna make it. White Wind says, I will watch the beginning. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And definitely Raz says, well, you never know if it's mine. I'll never know if it's your, what is your, the land? Great point. Nate says, I think Torrance is saying to do something like Molossi. Yeah, but you could just tell us. You could let us know. And agreed. And then Vincent said, Torrance, what if you invested in Aeternia? And I agree. I'm doing the same things. Reptile says, we have a 5% chance of severe weather today. Oh goodness, duck in cover, Reptile. That says, AP, you should buy some land, with oil, pump and sell the oil, become rich. Oh goodness, but that's against our whole environmental thing. Our metal refining industry is all electric because we're trying to build the solar stuff so that we can connect it to the arc furnace and make it 100% renewable. We're trying to make Aeternia not only carbon neutral as much as possible, but carbon negative. Right now we're far from carbon neutral, but we're trying to work toward it and to reduce our carbon footprint. Eventually we want to become carbon neutral and then carbon negative to be able to help the planet. So we're not going to be selling oil. But yeah, that would be a good way to make money. A lot of money, actually. Manu says, I'd like to go visit one day. Very cool. I'd love to have you visit, Manu. It would mean a lot, even just to be able to get to meet you. I think would be really cool. And of course, we love tourism. Lightwind says, micronationalists are big on the weather because we have to watch the weather for it can develop in our territories or not. Agreed, 100%. Also, because of the humidity, you guys may have seen over the course of the stream, my hair was like this, and now it's dropping back down. It looks like a weird. Micronation should invest in itself. Kingmania is interested in bilateral investment, particularly agriculture and food. And now you're investing in agriculture. Torrance, I don't understand your investment strategy. Also, good luck at work. White says today in Ohio we had a huge thunderstorm this morning at 2 a.m. Oh goodness. Hey, also 9 viewers. 9 viewers. We got 3 more minutes in the stream. 10 viewers. Hey, we got 3 more minutes in the stream. Hang out for the full stream, you guys. We got 10 viewers. Also, make sure to like if you haven't liked. It means a lot. Vincent said, AP, before you log off, can you give us a joke? Yes, I can. I got you. Hold up. I got to think of a good one. What? Oh gosh. Why did the chicken cross the road? To get to Vite. Hey, come to Vite. Hey, that's our micronational advertisement right there. We got it. Let me think of another one. Why was the electron so attracted to the proton? Because he was real positive. Hey, science. Hey, silly. Reptile says, AP, if storms take me down, you coming with me. That's fair. We're close enough. We'll save you, Reptile. Raz says, so is the main part of your economy farming, and does it come solely from taxes? Are you asking me, Raspberry? Because for us, a lot of our economy comes from, drum roll, industry. So a lot of our stuff is manufacturing. We have created success. So we have some from taxes, citizen taxes, of course. Manufacturing would be larger. Our metal refining industry has been a decent part of that as well. Nate says, White Wind, I hate your Ohio West. Really, if you could talk more about the banking and finances, we certainly can. Whenever you want, just let me know. But again, you gotta get that money. That's a whole thing. That's difficult. You want to create a whole bank, and I don't think that's necessary. Stop by. We'll throw a big party for the arrival of the great Manu. Vincent says, hi, Whiteland. It's White Wind, Vincent. But also, Vincent, okay. Raspberry says, Manu, what country do you reside in? Manu says, the instant you mentioned the chicken, I knew exactly what the punchline was going to be. Hey, I appreciate it, Manu. You get us. You get our Aeternian jokes. Manu is at very least an honorary attorney. He may not be a citizen, but Manu gets us. Manu's a part of the culture. Manu gets the vibe. He's been here long enough. Vince says it's raining in Alabama, but not Georgia. It's not raining here yet, but it's getting close. Reptile says, my dino nuggies are done. Hey, my stream's almost done. I'm about to say bye to everybody and go and eat myself some food as well, because I'm starving. Raz says, what metals do you refine? Also, you're becoming laggy and glitchy. Oh, I'm sorry. We refine any metals that we want to. Our electric arc furnace can heat up to temperatures that melt steel. So we primarily melt aluminum and copper, although we can go all the way up to steel. So aluminum, copper, steel, gold, silver, any and all of it. Also, sorry about the lag. Everybody says this on my side. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, please do send me the lag. I'm going to head out. I'm sorry about it, guys. Sorry for the lag. I'll see you next time. Aeternia forever. Peace, everybody. Bye, guys. If you can see this, hit me up in the comments. Hey. Everybody says bye. Rad says, where do you get your metals? Very interesting. We recycle them. So we take the aluminum and copper from copper wires that we get from our electrical projects. We crush aluminum cans and other aluminum packaging that we get, and we use that and recycle it. We recycle our own waste. Bye, everybody. Aeternia forever. Bye.